mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the special Sunday stream here live on 4 different platforms, streaming across 6 different accounts. And holy shit, do we got a lot of material to talk to, because this is the official rewind for All Elite Wrestling Full Gear 2022, which of course streamed live on Bleacher Report, Fight TV, and all pay-per-view platforms last night from the Prudential Center in my backyard of Newark, New Jersey. And man, oh man, do we have a lot of great shit to talk about from top to bottom. But as you can see, I am not alone here. Here with me for the very first time ever on the channel, he is a Wrestling Express OG. Shout out to Tommy McGrogan and all the members of Wrestling Express. He is a lifelong wrestling fan, big-time New Jersey Devils fan, and he is an individual who was actually live in attendance last night at AEW Full Gear. Please help me welcome, for the very first time, Mr. Anthonio. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How's everything?
I'm hanging in there, man. How you feeling? I'm feeling good after a show like that.
Yeah, I feel good too, man. Like after being there live, like like the energy was raucous. Oh man, like it was a good atmosphere. Like what a time to be a wrestling fan.
Man, I wish I was live, but I took my notes from the comfort of my own home, and we have a lot of material, like I said, to get into. But we'll address the elephant in the room first, and that's obvious because AEW kind of felt a little cold. It didn't really feel as hot as it usually did going into it for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they kind of hit a little bit of a wall after what happened with CM Punk's injury. And then when he came back, they were kind of floundering to figure out what they wanted to do with him. And then obviously the whole backstage media brawl. And above all else, and it's like this with WWE too, the fact that throughout October, November, and December, the entire wrestling community and the entire wrestling industry, it's kind of in a low period because people, they're focusing mainly on the 3 biggest holidays of the year: Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. They just want to relax, spend time with their families. Some people are focusing on the World Series. Some people focusing on football, hockey. Of course, hockey. And at the end of the day, wrestling's probably the last thing on people's minds. And I really do hope that will change over time, but it's been very prominent over the years. But this really felt like AEW put their foot down on the gas, and they took everyone by storm, no pun intended, and they really brought their A game last night from top to bottom. Wasn't a perfect show, as we will address. No wrestling show is ever perfect, but what they did was they gave us some great wrestling. Most matches had the right outcomes. They put forth their best foot. And above all else, and we were talking about this before we actually went live, the focus is on homegrown talent, and that is a great thing to see. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do going into the rest of 2022 and then into the new year. But what were your thoughts on the overall build? Obviously, to me, it was kind of on the lackluster side for an AEW show, at least. But what were your overall thoughts on the build? What were your thoughts on the overall card? And above all else, the atmosphere, since you were there.
Well, my thoughts, to actually piggyback off what you just said, as far as pretty much trying to bounce back after everything that what happened. It felt like everything leading up to Full Gear, it felt like a fresh start. I mean, pretty much just to wipe the slate clean of everything that happened, since All Out, and just and just continue to move forward. So that's what it actually felt like to me. All right, and now to actually going to what you said. Yeah, like to me, like it actually felt like it was a perfect show. Like me, like I would give the show a good out of 10. Like I would give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right, mainly because like it was a good atmosphere. Like the crowd, like those they had a whole lot of good match moments, a whole very good spots throughout the night. Um, yeah, again, like I felt like pretty much like everybody worked. Like it was like the show was well worked. It was well put together. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be talking about that. The match order was definitely a big factor that helped the overall show. They placed a lot of matches in the right places. Obviously, certain matches were not going to follow others, but overall, from top to bottom, we did get an excellent professional wrestling show, and we'll be here to dissect that in depth. And we're going to go match by match, as we usually do here on the Rewind. Shout out to everyone that's currently in the chat right now. Yes, I know, DD. You're in Oswego. The snow fucking sucks over there. Trust me, I know. I mean, fuck snow. God, I hope that we don't get too much snow here in Jersey during the winter months. But shout out to DD. Shout out to Adam Carl. Shout out to Peanut. Shout out to Paul, aka the Shooter, in the chat. You guys are great. I greatly appreciate you joining me on this Sunday. And once again, to Antonio, thank you very much for taking your time to sit down and talk some pro wrestling with me. But first things first, let me throw it to you. Where can everybody find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on social media on Facebook at Anthonio Karriem. Yeah, that's my name on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter. My handle is _time_Karriem. It's spelled Karriem. Yeah, and my name is also Anthonio Karriem on those platforms as well.
So shout out to Antonio for doing his thing with Wrestling Express as well. Check out those social media links there in the description link. Also, shout out to All Elite Mikey, who joined me on the Rewind, or not the Rewind, the Rundown, excuse me, for Full Gear. This was this past Thursday. But as far as I go, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. That is at HistoryMakerDJS. You can add me on Facebook as well for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com, like the official DJ Storms business page. And I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, that you like the stream, whether you're watching it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or the official Hardcore Sports Twitch page, which is right down there at the bottom at Hardcore Sports 1. You can follow us, Hardcore Sports, on Instagram at Hardcore Sports Network. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Hardcore Sports Network, because we just peaked 200 subs. We want to make it the #1 place for all sports analytics and dissection. We're talking about basketball, baseball, football, hockey, everything, and pro wrestling, UFC. We're going to put everything in there. So please make sure you go subscribe to the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel. Of course, please hit the subscribe button on my channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, baby, it's the best time to be on YouTube. And Earl knows why. I'm sure we'll see Earl in the chat a little bit later, because it's the only time you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combo and his beautiful mustache right here. Hold on 1 second. Earl's not here, but don't worry. He'll be showing up a little later. But we're going to do his favorite part of the video. We're going to light it up with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because, like Campbell's tomato soup possibilities, I'm just so good. Everybody wants a piece of the Storms Master. You know. But anyway, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's jump straight into the festivities here. I'm actually going to hand it over to you first, Antonio, because we got a 10-man tag here on the 0 hour kickoff show. This was All-Atlantic champion Orange Cassidy, best friends Rocky Romero, and the new Dark Danhausen versus the Factory. This is QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Nick Camarado, Cole Carter, and Lee Johnson. What were your thoughts on this overall match and how everything played out?
Unfortunately, I actually got some bad news here because unfortunately, I actually didn't see the match live. Like I pretty much kind of got to my seat late. So unfortunately, yeah, I wasn't able to yeah, I pretty much missed that part of the show. I think that was like the only match that I missed, but everything else I did see. But unfortunately, I missed that match. So unfortunately, yeah, so right now I can't really give my thoughts on it.
All right. I'll take it from here then. This was it really didn't do anything to harm the show. It didn't really do anything to hurt the show. It was just a decent little harmless 10-man tag. It was just kind of there. It wasn't terrible by any means. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was terrible, but it was just kind of there just to get a couple people on the show. So going through what happened in this match, so the baby faces were in control. The heels then took over. They isolated Trent. Trent then got the knees up on a frog splash by Cole Carter. We had a tag to Orange Cassidy. After Trent hit QT with a Saito suplex. We then had Orange Cassidy bashing QT's head into the buckle, diving crossbody, big pop-up punch by QT, backbreaker double stomp combination by Solo and Camarado. Everyone started getting their shit in. We had a satellite DDT on Lee Johnson, who sold the absolute shit out of this DDT. All of a sudden, we had triple planchas by the best friends and Rocky Romero onto all members of the factory. QT Marshall then hit a beautiful-looking diamond cutter on Orange Cassidy. All of a sudden, Danhausen came out, a much more darker Danhausen. Danhausen got the tag, and I will say this. Listen, Danhausen, he may be mostly gimmick, and I think a lot of the fans know that, but I will say this. Danhausen, he's not terrible in the ring. He's not bad in the ring by any stretch of the imagination. And if he takes on a little bit more of a serious character, I think he could be like a decent little hand if they want him to be. But he was in here. He was actually throwing in some nice suplexes, nice German suplex to QT, Northern Light suplex on Solo. Now, I could do without the jar full of teeth, but that's just me. He took the jar full of teeth, poured it into Colorado's mouth, and delivered a punt kick for the win. And that was pretty much it. But it wasn't bad, but at the end of the day, this was just kind of a match that was there just to help get Orange Cassidy on the show. But again, if Danhausen takes on a little bit more of a serious role, I honestly think he could be somewhat of a decent hand in whatever division they want to put him in. But well, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Danhausen could be a little bit more of a decent hand if they actually take on a more serious character for him?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, yeah, Danhausen is very good in the ring. I mean, he has a funny gimmick and everything, with the very nice, very evil thing, but his ring work is actually good. Yeah, so I think that he could. Yeah, I agree with what you said that he could. Given the opportunity to actually take his persona a little bit further or whatnot. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let me ask you this. Where does Orange Cassidy go from here, actually? Obviously, he's the All-Atlantic champion, and he is defending that title pretty frequently, which is a good thing to see, and he's been defending the title in solid matches. Where does he go from here? Obviously, he's not short of challengers. You have plenty of challengers that you could give to Orange Cassidy. People like Bandito, Roosh. If they want to bring back Miro, they can bring back Miro. Obviously, if you want to do a match with Penta or Phoenix, obviously, they're tied up with the Elite right now, but that's a possibility. There's a lot of different routes that you can take, but where can you see him going from here?
Well, one thing I could see him going is that, well, right now I do know they made the All-Atlantic championship, for the mid card. So I mean, what I was kind of hoping to see at Full Gear was to him to actually be somewhere on the mid card as opposed to the pre-show. Hopefully at Revolution, if he still is the champion, they'll actually give him a good spot on the card, somewhere in the middle of the card, as opposed to just having him do pre-show matches. Because I mean, Orange Cassidy, he's also good in the ring as well too. That he'll pretty much definitely deliver a banger, definitely get the crowd going and everything. So I mean, but as far as the challenges go, I mean, there's so many potential challengers that he could actually face for the championship, or that could challenge him for the championship. I mean, so regardless, I mean, he'll definitely deliver, no doubt. But in regards to pay-per-views, definitely, put him somewhere on the actual main card.
So, who can you see Cassidy losing the title to?
Oh, that's a good question. Who can I see him losing the title to?
I mean, I have one.
All right. I mean, I'm just trying to think of someone who's pretty much like, still green, but yet still looking to that, but yet still like, has potential to get to that next level. That's what I'm just trying to think about.
I was
I'm
thinking
trying to
about
think.
Hobbs.
Hobbs?
I was thinking about Hobbs.
Hmm.
You can build him up towards Revolution time.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, and then also like, that'll also pretty much like, help elevate the championship a little bit more as well too.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like me personally, I see Hobbs as at some point winning the TNT championship, but we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, but Hobbs, he might, he might be a good person to take to actually defeat Orange Cassidy.
It could be him, or it could be Ethan Page.
Hmm. Yeah, or maybe like when Scorpio Sky comes back, yeah, he could probably take it from him, maybe.
That's a potential idea. I don't really know where they're going with Scorpio Sky when he comes back. I hope he comes back soon because he's been out for quite some time, actually.
Yeah, but there's so many ways that they can go with it. So right now, just all you gotta do is just wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there, we went into Ricky Starks versus Brian Cage. This was for the AEW World Title Eliminator semifinals to see who was going on to the finals on Wednesday to face off against Ethan Page, who is currently in the finals right now. This only went about 10 minutes, but for the 10 minutes that it went, it wasn't something that, oh my God, you got to go back and rewatch it. But for the 10 minutes that it went, these two actually delivered a very good match for what it was. Brian Cage, obviously, he's great at what he does. Ricky Starks, he is fantastic in any role that you want to put him in, whether he's in a tag team, whether he's a singles competitor, whether he's a heel, whether he's a babyface. Ricky Starks, he just gels well with whatever he's given because that's how fucking good Ricky Starks really is. And that's a great thing to see. It really is great to see a guy like Ricky Starks just grow into his own and show everyone just how good he is and how versatile he really is. And Brian Cage, he's no slouch in his own right. Brian Cage is fantastic, and I'm very happy to see him getting more TV time here. So, again, very good match for what it was. Only went about 10 minutes, but it served its purpose. It did well. So Cage went right on the attack. We had a brawl on the outside. Cage, and this is probably one of my favorite moves that Cage does, huge deadlift superplex from the apron. I love when Cage pulls that move off. So Cage wore down Starks. Starks tried to mount the comeback. We had a beautiful tornado DDT off the ropes for a 2. We had a roll through by Starks. Cage kicked out. Starks with a spear on the button. Cage kicked out. Cage then with a power bomb deadlift into a buckle bomb. And then he delivered another move that I love when Brian Cage hits. Brian Cage hits a very nice discus lariat. That got a 2 count. Cage went for the diving elbow drop, but Starks moved. Starks went for the Rochambeau. This was fucking beautiful right here. Brian Cage, he had Starks in an F5 position. Ricky Starks got out, delivered a beautiful fluid Canadian fucking destroyer, and then transitioned into the Rochambeau for 1-2-3 win. This was absolutely fucking great right here, and I absolutely love the way that this played out. Ricky Starks gets the win, and Ricky Starks is moving on to fight Ethan Page at Dynamite in Chicago this Wednesday, and the winner of that faces MJF at Winter's Coming. So, very good match for what it was. It served its purpose, and I don't really have anything disparaging to say about it. Let me throw it over to you, Antonio.
Well, Ricky Starks and Brian Cage are no strangers to each other. I mean, like, they definitely like, worked together with Team Taz. They fought together for the they fought against each other for the LCW world title. So yeah, so I mean, so that's one thing I did know, that the two of them working together, that they definitely had good chemistry. In the ring. That was for sure. And like you said, for a 10-minute match, it definitely did serve its purpose. Like, it definitely like, help get the pre-show along as well too. Like, help like, get the fans energized, because I was being there live, like all the fans was all rooting for Ricky. Like we was all like, myself included, like we was all cheering for Ricky. Like, we was all like, Ricky. So definitely. And then like that spot that you had mentioned, when he had him up in the fireman's carry and then reversed it into a destroyer, I was like, oh, like everybody was like, oh, like yeah. So like I think that was probably like the best spot of that match. And yeah, then when Ricky got the pin and got the victory, yeah. Then the stare down that he had with Ethan Page at the end, yeah, like that right there, like yeah, like that's definitely like like it's pretty much like building up for the finals to this whole eliminated tournament. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, like that was that match. Yeah,
What
definitely
can you
delivered
see
for
Brian Cage
the
going
time
from
that they
here,
had.
if I may ask?
Excuse me.
Where can you see Brian Cage going from here, if I may ask?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, they could set him up with somebody else, with another feud to pretty much like to help build his character up some more, or to help build somebody else up, or something. But as far as seeing him in the title hunt again, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, when you actually asked about the All Atlantic Championship, I thought about Brian Cage though, but being that he just lost this match, I mean, it kind of might be a little bit too soon for him to just throw him into the title picture right now.
Well, if we're asking where Brian Cage can go, I can absolutely see Brian Cage and the Embassy fighting Dalton Castle and the Boys at Ring of Honor Final Battle for the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Championships, and I can see the Embassy actually winning that match.
Okay, yeah, that is good. Yeah,
because he is on Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ricky Starks, obviously, he is. I'm telling you, I think he's winning the whole thing. I don't see Ethan Page losing this. I think Ricky Starks is winning the whole thing. And in the end, we are going to see Ricky Starks and MJF at Winter is Coming. And that right there is really going to take Ricky Starks to the next level, for sure. And I really do believe that this entire tournament was centered around building up specifically Ricky Starks and Ethan Page. But obviously, Ethan Page is taking the loss here. But he'll still look good in the end because he's going to put on a great match like he usually does. But in the end, I do see Ricky Starks inevitably getting the victory. And this is going to be a nice, strong start to MJF's world title reign, which we will talk about later on in the show when we get to the main event. But Ricky Starks, great first opponent. Ricky Starks is great at what he does, and he gels well on the microphone with almost anyone that you want to put him up against. And I do believe that these promos leading up to that match are going to be a great, great sight to see on weekly TV before we get to Winter is Coming for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Ricky Starks, him getting the actual the world championship title shot. I mean, it'll definitely be a way to actually show that he can actually that he can actually compete for a world championship, and that he'll actually deliver if given the time and if need be. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, and actually show that he's actually that kind of caliber of a wrestler.
Oh, he's always been that caliber of a wrestler. Always.
Yeah. He always has been though, but he's pretty much been proving it on the mid card scene, especially with NWA, he won the CB championship, being the FCW championship, being an FCW champion, and now actually trying to work his way up to show that he can actually compete for the world title and be and actually be in contention for the world title.
And you know what's the best part about it is his reaction and his rise. It's all organic. It doesn't feel forced. It's all organic with the crowd, and it goes to show you how much the crowd really wants to see him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you actually when the crowd was all chanting Ricky, it wasn't just because they was just chanting it out for fun. They actually really wanted him to win, and the crowd really and it's everybody wants him to win this.
So from there, we went into the final match on the 0 hour. This was Eddie Kingston and Jun Akiyama. I am not familiar with Jun Akiyama. This is only the second Jun Akiyama match that I've seen, but this was the standard, straightforward Eddie Kingston match that we would get, and that's not a bad thing whatsoever. This was very physical. It was very hard-hitting, and it doesn't matter who he's in the ring with. Eddie Kingston is going to he's going to hit hard, and he's going to hit fucking stiff, which is a great thing to see. But a lot of stiff strikes, stiff kicks. Kingston, I love Kingston's variations of suplexes. That's a great thing to watch Kingston do. Half and half suplex. Jun Akiyama almost looked like he landed right on his neck. We also had a exploder suplex. Both men were down. Kingston with a DDT. He hit the Orkin, but Akiyama kicked out. Akiyama then with an exploder suplex. He exposed the knee, running knee to Kingston. Kingston kicked out. Spinning Northern Lights bomb by Eddie Kingston, but Akiyama still kicked out. Akiyama then got up, and then Kingston hit another Orkin, and he won the match 1, 2, 3. Eddie Kingston gets the win. And before I'm going to say what I'm going to say, what were your thoughts on this overall match?
I thought the match was very good. Definitely, like you said, definitely hard hitting. Eddie Kingston, Akiyama, they definitely delivered. I mean, it was a good last match to actually, to segue into the actual main show itself. Yeah, like it definitely delivered. Yeah, Eddie Kingston. Yeah, like he left it all out in the ring. So did Akiyama. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like that was actually, yeah, I would say that was a good match as well too. I mean, like that match during the pre-show, like it actually garnered a "This is awesome" chant from the crowd as well too. So definitely, yeah.
It really just go to show you how good Eddie Kingston is. But the one thing that I loved about this match the most, and specifically Eddie Kingston, and the match itself was good, but the bigger story of the match was, and this whole entire segment was the fact that no matter where he's placed on the card, whether it's the pre-show, the opening match, the main event, if he's not on Dynamite, if he's in a promo segment, Eddie Kingston still remains one of the most over acts in all of AEW, no matter where he's put on the card. And that just goes to show you how organically over Eddie Kingston is. And the one thing I'm really looking forward to is considering who won the World Championship, and he's not short of challengers at all. I'm looking down the barrel of Eddie Kingston potentially challenging for the World Championship. He's not going to win, but I mean, just to hear the promos between him and the man who won the World Championship, I think that right there would be probably some of the best television that we'll see all fucking year, dude.
Oh yeah, it would be. Oh, yeah, definitely it would be. Yeah. I mean, he's good on the mic. The guy who won the title, he's good. He's also good on the mic as well too. Yeah, they'll definitely have some back and forth promos.
I mean, the story would be fantastic. The story that they would tell. I mean, Eddie Kingston would be the most overact in the company fighting MJF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
But that's a great thing that I would definitely love to see going forward. But decent little 0 hour, nothing too crazy, nothing too over the top, but that's where we left off. We then went into the main show, and the main show kicked off with, I was shocked that they kicked off with this match. I did not think they were going to kick off with this match, but I am not fucking complaining one bit. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry versus Luchasaurus in a steel cage match. Now, before I dissect everything that went on in this match, because I took a lot of notes on this match, what was it like seeing that steel cage being lowered? What was it like, the atmosphere in the arena for this match with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus?
Well, definitely, everybody was shocked that this match was actually going to go first. Because me personally, I wasn't expecting this match to go first. And then, like right before the show, right before the clock struck 8 and the cage started coming down, yeah, everybody was all like, yeah, we was all like it was like that pretty much like started the raucous atmosphere right there. So and then after it came down and when the clock struck 8 and the fireworks went off. Yeah, the fans got into it and everything, and it's like, all right, it's that time now. Yep, it's that time, and it's about to get real.
Now, let me tell you something. It was going to get real from the start because this feud has been played off very, very beautifully. Seeing Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy and the tag team run that they had and how over they were as a tag team, and obviously their tag team title run and all the great matches that came out of that tag team title run, and the fact that they were pure workhorse champions. That was a great thing to see. And seeing them come full circle for this match. And the crazy part about it is it was a year ago at this pay-per-view where these three men, Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, fought the Elite, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks in a Falls Count Anywhere match at Full Gear. They won that match, and then here they are 1 year later, all involved in a storyline with each other, and we have Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus fighting inside of a steel cage. I don't really want to jump the gun too soon, but I mean, if this is not the match of the year, it's up there. It's absolutely fucking up there because everything from the atmosphere to the story to the build to the in-ring action, everything was just. It was a perfect storm. It was an absolute perfect storm, and it came together to bring us perhaps the best steel cage match that we've seen since the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros at All Out last year in 2021. And that steel cage match, I said that steel cage match was the best match of 2021. I think these two absolutely fucking knocked it out of the park. Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy absolutely took everything to the next level, and Christian Cage being that outside factor for the time that he was out there really brought a lot to the table. But let's get into the match itself. Luchasaurus, he busted open Jungle Boy pretty fucking early, and it was quite a lot of blood. we were just getting started here. He was already busted open. He was then slung into the cage, was Jack Perry. He was just getting ragdolled around the fucking cage. Obviously, Luchasaurus playing up to what he is, the powerhouse heel, almost like a classic Kane, like from 1998, 1999 Kane, if I may use that terminology. So from there, all of a sudden, Luchasaurus had Jungle Boy up on the top, chokeslammed him off the top, and then he hit the cutthroat burning hammer, which is a great finisher. Jungle Boy kicked out. Christian Cage then stood on the steps, and he tried to get inside the cage, but the security took him away. Luchasaurus then went outside. He was pissed off at the security. Jungle Boy followed suit. Jungle Boy, then he got slingshotted into the cage. We go back into the ring. Luchasaurus brought out chairs and a table. Back in the ring, Jungle Boy drove Luchasaurus into the cage. Jungle Boy was then back body dropped on the apron, which looked brutal. Luchasaurus set up some chairs. Jungle Boy hit a low kill switch on the chairs. Luchasaurus kicked out. Luchasaurus, and I don't know how the fuck Jack Perry's spine was still intact after this. Luchasaurus choke slammed Jungle Boy onto a steel chair, and the steel chair fucking crumbled and broke with the impact of Jungle Boy's body. Jungle Boy still kicked out. Jungle Boy then hit an avalanche sliced bread from the top. Both men were down. Both men sat up like The Undertaker, and you see Jungle Boy just fucking seething. Great fucking sight. Luchasaurus then took over. He punched Jack down. Jack kept getting back up. Jack Perry got Luchasaurus up in a beautiful pile driver for another close 2 count. Now, at this point, Jungle Boy says, all right, you know what? Fuck this. I'm putting an end to this. He sets up a table. He hits Luchasaurus in the face with a chair. He goes up to the top of the cage, delivers a Shawn Michaels-esque diving elbow drop. His elbow fucking bounced off of Luchasaurus' chest. I would be surprised if Luchasaurus doesn't have a broken rib after that shit. And then after that, Jungle Boy locked in the snare trap, and Luchasaurus just could not take anymore. Luchasaurus taps out, and Jungle Boy wins what was an absolutely fantastic fucking steel cage match. Easily one of the best matches of 2022, and perhaps the best performance that I've ever seen from both Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. Now, before I get into the aftermath of this and what will come out of this, I'm going to throw it over to you. What were your thoughts on the overall match?
I thought that was probably the best match to go on first, if not last, go on first. Mainly because, again, when you pretty much was talking about the prelude to the match, as far as the story that they told leading, pretty much the story leading up to the match, as far as them being in a tag team, them winning the tag team championships, them losing the tag team championships, and now with them two fighting each other, it's okay, well, we definitely the chemistry was there already, and two, and again, you actually kind of felt the disdain that these two have for each other, given the history that they had, and another thing that made it a full circle moment is they actually won the tag team championships right there in Newark. I was there for that as well too. They won the AEW World Tag Team Championships in Newark, and now they're actually finishing this whole thing off in Newark. So that was one, and two, and the match itself, as you was recapping it, I was pretty much replaying it in my mind as you were going through, and I was man, it was very spotty, definitely, you saw the blood there as well too. Christian trying to get involved, security having to throw him out, and then I think this probably was out of all the spots that happened, this is probably the best spot was that elbow drop off the top of the cage. Yeah, the fans, everybody, was on their feet, got up, was cheering, when he set the table up, but they was all even before he climbed up, they was all saying, "Go up, go top, go top, go top," and and when he came down and landed that elbow drop, and then locked the snare trap in and got the submission victory. Yeah, that was it was definitely poetic. And then he climbed the cage up again to celebrate up top. And then afterwards, I think he hugged his mother and his sister after the match. Yeah, so yeah, definitely, yeah. So yeah, that was a definite a good way to kick the show off, and that was a good way to end that storyline.
It was a great thing to watch for sure. And the one thing that I loved about this, and this goes hand in hand with a lot of the matches on the show. Even some of the losers in these matches were winners in the end. And one of those people specifically is Luchasaurus. This is the best I've seen Luchasaurus since the beginning of AEW, when Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy were at their hottest. And seeing the growth of Luchasaurus and what Christian Cage and this storyline has done for Luchasaurus, it is really going to make Luchasaurus into a monster heel, a potential All-Atlantic or a potential TNT champion, if they want to dabble in that and if they want to go that far. And in the end, he does not lose anything from a submission. He did not lose anything from this submission. And after everything that Jungle Boy did to him, if he did not submit after all that, I don't really know if there was anything that was going to keep him down. And both of these individuals in the end looked great coming out of it. I cannot say enough praise about this. Do you think that this is the end? Or do you think that we will continue on once Christian Cage is healthy? Because ultimately, that right there is something that they definitely want to dabble in. And that would be Christian Cage inevitably losing to Jungle Boy. Because again, Christian Cage, he was the orchestrator in all of this. Luchasaurus, like he said, was his right hand of destruction. So Luchasaurus was almost kind of like the puppet in this, even though he had more history with Jungle Boy than Christian Cage has. So that's definitely something that they could dabble in. But do you see them just putting a bookmark, a hold on this feud until Christian Cage is healthy enough? I don't know where either of these individuals go afterward. It's a possibility. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, that would be the smart thing, to actually, like, put a bookmark in it, because right now it's like, okay, like after a cage match like that and everything is like, all right. And like you said, like there was really no true losers in this whole situation. I mean, as you was talking about that, I mean, like it's something about fighting someone that you used to tag partner with and that you're actually really truly legit friends with, that actually, like, tends to bring out the best of you as far as, like, like when you're having those matches. I mean, like, think about it, like all those times that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fought, like they always brought the best of each other because they're actually, like, real legit friends, and that's what they and it's like, and when that pretty much, like, pretty much makes its way into the ring, like, it's just like, it's just something like, it's like you got to do better than the last time, and that's pretty much like, the feeling that I got after seeing this match as well. Too, like, two of them going at it, okay, yeah, like we got to bring out the best of each other. So yeah, so that's why, again, Luchasaurus, he also looks strong. Jungle Boy, he also looks strong as well too. So yeah, but I think the best thing to do right now is okay, I would say the feud between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus should just be done with it now and have Christian Cage recover and everything, and then at the right time when he's finished healing and everything, have him come back and pick up where he left off with Jungle Boy. That would probably be the best. I say that would be the best thing to do. Like, pretty much, like, they could have, like, yeah, like Jungle Boy, he could probably go after a championship. He could. Oh, well, I would say he could go after Orange Cassidy though, but Orange Cassidy is also babyface, so two babyfaces fighting each other probably wouldn't.
Well, that don't matter. It'll be a great fucking match. It'll make the title mean something.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
But Jungle Boy, he could definitely go after MJF when the time is right. That right there is a great feud. And I remember the match that they had during the pandemic in May of 2020 at Double or Nothing. That was a great fucking match. So they could easily revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like we touched upon, no real true losers in this match, and everyone played their part perfectly. Everything worked out perfectly, easily, the perfect way to kick off the show. And on top of all of that, one of the best matches, if not the best match of the year, and the best steel cage match since Young Bucks and Lucha Bros last year at All Out. From there, speaking of Lucha Bros and Young Bucks, they were actually in the next match. And, how the fuck do you follow a steel cage match? Oh, we'll put Death Triangle and the Elite on the fucking show. So the Death Triangle came out, and I loved the way that they were hyping up the Elite. It was very subtle, and no one was mentioning it on TV. And then the Death Triangle, Pac took the microphone this past Wednesday. He said, "Do you think we're stupid? You think we haven't seen these fucking video packages?" And then it just comes about. The match comes about, and they have this TikTok type of video package and vignette, and we inevitably get to the show. The crowd was absolutely fantastic here. Crowd was hyped before the Elite even came out. And let me tell you something. I was not too big on Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. I didn't really understand the hype around it. But, I mean, seeing the Elite come out to it, holy shit. I don't know, man. I think it's going to slowly become my new favorite fucking song. I don't know, dude. It legitimately may become my new favorite song, but
yeah. Some of the fans was actually in attendance was singing along to it. So yeah, like me, like
everyone was singing along to it. I saw the vlog videos. Unreal.
Yeah,
I don't know how they made it work, but it worked.
They made it work. Yeah, like the crowd was definitely hyped for the Elite to actually return. Yeah, like it'd be like right like when the lights went off, everybody like everybody's just like started making noise, and then when they actually did the entrance came out and everything, it was like everybody was all cheering. Yeah, like they was all chanting "Welcome back." Like they was saying the Elite, the Elite, the Elite. Like it was.
Oh, they were chanting more than that. I heard some of these fucking chants, dude. They were chanting "fuck CM Punk." I mean,
they was saying that too. Oh yeah. Oh man.
I mean, hey, look, he fucked up. He fucking deserves it. It is what it is. He fucking deserves it. He's a fucking pussy. What are you gonna do? Fuck him. Fuck him. But anyway, we're getting a little sidetracked here. But let's go over the match. Let me go over the match here. So the Elite came out to Carry On My Wayward Son. Absolutely fucking awesome. The crowd was chanting "fuck CM Punk" like we stated. And I love my state. I hate the fucking governor, but I love my state. I just will say that. I will say that. I'm sorry. You know I had to fucking throw that in there. You know I did. I'm an asshole, remember? I'm wearing an MJF shirt. I got to be MJF for just 2 seconds. Anyway, so Death Triangle, they worked on Kenny Omega. The Elite were in control a little bit earlier. Pac went right for Omega's knee. And when he drop kicked the knee, I was a little worried because that knee looked like it fucking buckled. But Pac really, really laid it into Omega's knee, and Omega sold the shit out of it. Death Triangle took over. Omega was isolated before Matt Jackson got the tag. We had the Locomotion Northern Lights suplexes. Pac then came in. He isolated Matt. Tag to Omega. Huge tope con hero over the top. Nick Jackson, like a fucking madman that he is, did a fucking Hurricane Rana to Penta off the top to the floor onto the pile. Absolutely fucking insane. Pac and Omega were back in the ring, and this is where shit really started to get into it. Snap German by Pac, Penta then came in. Triangle tombstones, the Death Triangle with triple triangle tombstones on every single member of the Elite at the same fucking time, which looked awesome. Phoenix, so Nick Jackson decided to be a fucking madman. Phoenix decides to be a fucking madman. He jumps off of Penta's shoulders into a splash on Omega. Penta, like a fucking lunatic, does a fucking Canadian Destroyer off of Phoenix shoulders to Matt Jackson, I believe it was. Pac then was up top. Black Arrow into the Brutalizer. I thought that was it. Kenny Omega got his foot on the rope. Great stuff right there. Excellent flurry. Pac then tossed the hammer to Rey Fenix, but Phoenix did not want to use it. And in the end, Phoenix nearly paid for it. We had a V-trigger by Omega. Tiger Driver 98. Phoenix kicked out. Nick Jackson came in, hit a poison Rana on Rey Fenix. Nick then super kicked Pac. We had the Escalera, and Nick took out, I believe it was Pac with the Escalera. Then we had a moonsault by Matt Jackson onto Penta. It was just Phoenix and Omega in the ring. Pac then handed Phoenix the hammer, and Phoenix, in the end, he gave in. Phoenix gave in to Pac's temptation because it is all about making sure that the Trios Championship stay within the Death Triangle, and Phoenix hit Omega in the head with the hammer. He used it on Omega, rolled through 1, 2, 3. Omega was knocked out. Fan-fucking-tastic match. Again, the perfect match to follow up that steel cage match with. And before I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, I will say this. I'm gonna keep it a little broad because I want to hand it over to you in a minute. I was expecting the Elite to win this, But after what just happened and the announcement of the best of 7 series that we got, this was absolutely the right outcome for this match. And it solidified the Death Triangle as, hey, we're not just fucking transitional champions. We're legit fucking trios champions, and we're going to make sure that these titles fucking mean something. And no matter how long we hold these titles, you're going to fucking remember this title reign because we beat the Elite in their return match. And kudos to Tony Khan for pulling the trigger on Death Triangle retaining, and kudos to the Elite after what happened and the Elite coming back in the manner that they did and putting over the Death Triangle. That's something right there that is to be respected. Overall, fantastic match. And after the ending and the whole storyline and the best of 7 series that we have to come, I can't shit on this one either. Even though I had the Elite winning, I cannot shit on this either. But Antonio, the floor is yours.
One thing I can say is that there was definitely a whole lot of good spots in this match, as far as like with the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks at one point going at it, pretty much no selling their moves and everything, and then as it came to a head when it was got the super kick party going, and then they also hit Pac with a double super kick and everything, and then at one point in the match where Pac hit the black arrow on Kenny Omega and had him in a brutalizer. I thought that was over as well at that point as well. But turned out that was a good false finish though. And then the actual finish itself, when Kenny Omega had him up for the Phoenix up for the one-winged Angel, and Phoenix used the hammer and did the roll up for the victory. Yeah, me personally, I actually did want the Death Triangle to win because mainly because this is the Elite's first match back. To put the titles on them immediately coming back wouldn't have been the right. Me personally, I wouldn't think that would have been the right thing to do.
Oh, no, you're right. I just thought the Elite were going to win regardless. You're right.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought they were going to win, though. But me, I didn't want them to win. And on top of that, I actually do. Me personally, I actually do like the Death Triangle. I actually do like the fact that they're actually building them up, and that's what they really should have been doing. In the past as well too. And now they're pretty much are getting that build that they've been really been trying to get. And them being the trios champions right now, is actually doing so. And to go off what you said, is actually going to help make the titles actually mean something and not just be just throwaway championships. And they're also not going to be positioning themselves as transitional champions. That they're actually going to be real contenders for the championship. And them actually beating the original winners for the championships actually help solidify that for them. So overall, definitely a good ass match. It was a good match to follow a historic cage match as well too. Definitely Spotty definitely kept the fans on their feet during this match. We all was on our feet for this whole for that match as well too. Definitely. I think it was the right call. I mean, I think the finish. I mean, me personally, I would have preferred a clean finish though. But hey, the Death Triangle got the win.
So here's a question for you, and I actually thought that we weren't just going to see the Elite. I thought we were going to see another trio too, and this is actually a trio in this best of 7 series that could almost be considered the X factor in all of this, and that's the House of Black. The House of Black, obviously, they did not get off on the right foot for multiple reasons. Obviously, because of Malachi Black, he had a back issue. He had personal problems with his home that he needed to take care of, which he did, and now he's coming back, and the House of Black is looking to be reborn. The one thing that is going to be on everyone's mind, I would assume at least a few people's mind within this best of 7 series, because I know for a fact it's going to go all the way to 7. It has to. The one thing I'm taking a note to is, are these guys going to show up? Are the House of Black going to show up? And if they show up, who do they cost? And if they do cost someone, or if they don't, then you'd have to think that the winners of this best of 7 series is realistically going to fight the House of Black, and the House of Black should realistically beat the winners of this best of 7 series for the Trios Championships, because that is where the House of Black are going to excel in right now. Now, Malachi Black, you can definitely experiment with Malachi Black in the All-Atlantic and or TNT title picture, and then you can definitely experiment with Buddy and Brody in the tag team title scene, but right now their main value is as a trio fighting for the Trios Championships. I actually thought that they were going to win the initial tournament leading up into All Out. That unfortunately did not happen, but if we are talking about the House of Black, they are definitely considered a major X factor in which we don't know when they're coming back, who they're going to target. I actually thought that there was a potential chance that they were going to target Darby and Sting later on in the show and cost them the match against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. That didn't happen at all. I'm almost glad it didn't, because I think that Darby and Sting, I think that they're beyond the House of Black right now, and they need to do their own thing. And the House of Black would definitely fit better within the Trios Championship title hunt. But I don't know how things are going to play out. This I would say is a very unpredictable situation, but it's a good kind of unpredictable, to a point where we don't know who's going to win the Trios Championships in this best of 7 series. And then if the House of Black are going to get involved, and if they do or they don't, who are they going to be targeting? Because they have an easy shoe-in storyline with the Death Triangle, since they have history, or they could target the Elite and just take over the fucking company by beating the top trio in the company, whether they're the Trios champions or not. And that is automatic credibility transferred from the Elite to the House of Black. And that is what I always look forward to, seeing credibility transferred from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And that's exactly what I want to see with the Trios Championships going forward. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Who could potentially win this best of 7 series? And if they do, is the House of Black going to target them in the end and win the Trios titles?
As far as the best of 7 series, I'm not entirely sure who's going to win it, though. But one thing I can say is that regardless as to who wins, I'm hoping at the House of Black that if they actually do decide to go that route and go after any trio, I would say that they should go after the Elite, mainly because it'll be fresh, like it's something new, like it'll be like something that'll actually that can actually something that will actually be very, very good if built up and done right. That much would be good. Thinking about them actually going up against the Death Triangle. I mean, now that you pretty much mentioned it, they have history there and everything. I mean, to pick up where they left off again, it has to be whoever's that's writing this or pretty much coming up with the storyline, or pretty much or doing with this, they pretty much have to do it right. That's the thing about it. Yes, let them do the creative control and everything, but make sure that it actually goes or flows in the right direction. All right, that's the thing. I want to see, me personally, I want to see something fresh. That's why I actually want them to go after the Elite. And it doesn't even have to be for the championships. It could just be just an actual storyline. Just a regular storyline feud between them two. So if anything, I think they probably should cost the Elite. If that's the case, if I want to see something fresh, they should cost the Elite the opportunity, and then have them and the Elite go at it.
So with that being said, then if they're going to cost the Elite in this best of 7 series, then realistically, since the best of 7 series, it's going to go to 7. And before we get to what's going to happen then, the one thing I'm really looking forward to with this best of 7 series is I want to see how they make every match different from the next. That's definitely going to be something that's going to be interesting. But the one thing that we're going to talk about here, I want to know from you, if the Elite are going to be cost by the House of Black and the best of 7 series is going to end in January, realistically, the match at Revolution is going to be the Elite and the House of Black without the Trios Championships. Who do the Death Triangle face at Revolution to get them through Revolution? Because realistically, if the Death Triangle are going to beat the Elite, then the House of Black should take it off the Death Triangle after the House of Black beats the Elite. Who could the Death Triangle potentially face at Revolution that's going to be serviceable opponents for them to get them through Revolution and onto the House of Black after the House of Black inevitably beats the Elite?
Well, one direction that they could go is that the Death Triangle could actually feel some type of way about about the House of Black interfering and make it a three-way between the three teams.
Yes.
Yeah, and that right there would definitely would be good as well too. Another thing is that another three-way team probably probably not Best Friends Orange Cassidy, no, not them. Yeah, we did. They probably could either build up the Jericho Appreciation Society and have them go after the Trios Championships, or the or the team that they or the other team that kicked off the pre-show. The 3 people in that can't remember that team's name.
The Factory?
Yeah, they could probably build. They could try to build them up. I'm not entirely sure as well. Yeah, so I mean,
yeah, that's potential. They have a few options that they can go with. Maybe the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I mean, I guess we can consider that a trio because Billy Gunn will inevitably take the pin right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, like there's multiple directions that they could go. I mean, I think that like if they yeah, again, yeah, this is like again, like this is why I'm not a writer because oh my god, because like
I could be a writer, dude. I want to get behind the fucking pen and paper.
Because
hang on a minute.
That's too many options. Not healthy.
Lisa brought some to the table right here. Death Triangle and the Embassy.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah,
that's not a bad one.
That's not bad either. Yeah, Death Triangle and the Embassy. Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, too many options. I mean, there's so many ways they could go. Like again, like all I'm gonna do is just sit back and just see where it goes.
I think probably the triple threat that you just pitched. The triple threat's probably the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I go with the triple threat and have the Death Triangle win. No, not the Death Triangle win. Have House of Black win by pinning the Elite, and then they can continue the Death Triangle and the House of Black afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, holy shit. What a fucking match this was. What a return. Everything just worked out so perfectly. Cannot shit on this match either. Again, it wasn't a perfect show, but again, these first 2 matches to kick off the main show, absolutely a perfect storm. From there, we went into something that was anything but perfect, and this was Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose for the TBS Championship. So before we're going to get into what we're going to get into, let's go over the match quickly here. First of all, probably one of the best parts about this was the fact that Nyla came in on Cadillac, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know, dude, was it a Cadillac?
I can't remember the type of car it was though. Yeah, because I didn't really pay that much attention to. I didn't really pay that much attention to it. But yeah, but if I wasn't, I'll probably say it probably was a Cadillac though. But don't hold me to that though.
I'm trying to think, just because what did Eddie Guerrero used to drive? Because that's what it reminded me of.
Well, he used to drive a lowrider.
A lowrider, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think like if that was a Cadillac as well too. I mean, most lowriders I've seen are Cadillacs or
okay, so then we're on the same wavelength. Or
a 6'4", yeah, a 6'4".
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength then. So Nyla came in driving on a lowrider Cadillac, like Eddie Guerrero, obviously since Vicky Guerrero was with her. So Jade, I don't know what Jade was dressed as. What Marvel character was she dressed as? Was she dressed as hold on, what was it? Was it Human Torch from Fantastic Four?
Yeah, my boys is one of my boys on Facebook had posted it though. Let me see if I could actually let me see if I could hopefully my screen don't go dark if I try to pull this up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, because I actually did like Jay's outfit. Well, her on what she had on. But let me give me 1 second while I look it up. Because I know he posted it.
I initially thought that it may have been...
Chitara. That's what she is. Chitara.
Okay. See, like I'm not a big Marvel mark. I used to be, but only because of Spider-Man and the Hulk back when I was a kid. So I don't know too many in-depth Marvel characters. But so Jade, she came in and she punted Nyla over the barricade. She then dropped Nyla over the top of the barricade. Jade was then bounced off the steps. Nyla then with a body slam combination and a running splash for a 2. Cannonball in the corner. Jade tried to kick Nyla down. Jade then went up to the middle rope. Nyla got the boot up when Jade went for a splash. Nyla then delivered the diving knee, which was probably one of the best looking spots of the match. That got a 2. Jade, this was the best spot of the match for me. Jade got Nyla up in a great sit-out powerbomb for a 2. Nyla then hit Jaded on Jade. Jade kicked out. Nyla then went up top. Swanton bomb missed. Jade with the punt kick. Jade then hit Jaded, and she retains the TBS Championship in about 8 minutes. Couple of things. First of all, this match easily was the worst match of the entire night. There was not a chance not a chance that Nyla and Jade were going to follow the steel cage match and the trios match. It doesn't matter what you put. It doesn't matter what you put in that spot. No one was going to follow that match. I actually was telling Antonio before we went live, the only way that someone could have followed that match is if they legitimately pulled the Titanic out of their ass to impress the crowd there in New Jersey. There was no way that Jade and Nyla were going to follow those two matches. That was number one. Number two, the build towards this match was fucking terrible. I was actually doing some research, and I believe it was on the media call before All Out, if I'm not mistaken, and Tony Khan mentioned that Tony Schiavone actually pitched the build for this storyline with Nyla and Jade. I love Tony Schiavone, but if this is the shit that he's going to do, keep him far away from the creative pen and paper. The title thievery storyline is perhaps one of the worst, one of the most overplayed storylines that we've seen in the pro wrestling industry in this era. It's old, it's childish, it's juvenile. It's just all around fucking stupid. It really is. That was number two. And number three, and this is probably the biggest factor to go into it, Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill are not in-ring leaders. You take a look at the great matches that Nyla and Jade have had, and they all are in the ring with someone who is better than them, someone who is ahead of them in terms of in-ring action and in-ring work. Thunder Rosa, she's an in-ring leader. Riho is an in-ring leader. Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, all of those types of individuals, those women are in-ring leaders. Jade Cargill, she's gotten better, but she is not an in-ring leader. She works too slow and too methodical of a match. Same thing with Nyla. Now, Nyla is better than Jade, but Nyla is still not an in-ring leader at her core. So right then and there, it was just a recipe for disaster. Legitimately, all we needed was the last 90 seconds of this match. The last 90 seconds of the match were the best part of the match, with the sit-out powerbomb, the jaded, the punt kick. That's all we needed. That's all we needed. Other than that, this match was very, very clunky, very sloppy, way too methodical. And here's something that I don't like about certain types of people with certain types of matches. I understand that some people may be green. I understand that some people may be a little inexperienced. But if you're green and inexperienced, that should give you all the more of a reason. And this is what I do. I am very, very structured, and I always love to plan ahead. If you are going to have a match in a tough position like this, and you know that you're not where you need to be, then you should go and you should rehearse almost every little spot that you're going to do before the match to try and at least attempt to make sure the match comes off the best way that it could possibly come off. And I don't get that vibe from Jade Cargill. Now, I'm not saying that she sucks, but at her core, like I said, she's not an in-ring leader. Same thing with Nyla. They're not two women who are going to gel together with anyone unless they have someone who is more superior to them in the ring when the bell rings. And in the end, this entire storyline, this entire feud, it just completely fucking fell flat in the end. And we'll talk about who takes the title off of Jade Cargill. But Antonio, I'm going to throw it over to you now. The ball's in your court.
Well, one thing I can say is that even the fans in attendance definitely didn't care about the match because as soon as they actually saw the graphic for Jade and Nyla go up, like a lot of them pretty much either went to the bathroom or went to the concession stands to get food or get beer or whatever. So yeah, I mean, as I was looking around seeing all the fans pretty much get up and walk and stepping away from it, and I was like, oh my god! I said nobody really cares about this match. Now I was almost tempted to join them, but I decided not to since I was there to enjoy. I was going to enjoy the show regardless. But like you said, again, the build up to it wasn't really that good. Definitely not, mainly because the title thievery is definitely overplayed. And it didn't work in a situation like this. Sometimes it does work. This time it didn't work. All right, that was one. And two, what you also said as far as them two not being in-ring leaders, that is definitely true. Mainly because Jade, she's still a newcomer in this whole thing. She cannot as far as being on that level, let's say a Dr. Britt Baker or a Thunder Rosa or something like that. Them
Jamie Hayter,
they can. Yeah, and Tony Storm, like they know how to carry a match. They know how to lead a match. They know how to pretty much like make sure that the spots are in the right are correct and everything. Jade doesn't have that, and the same thing also with Nyla. Nyla, she somewhat does have that as far as like she's definitely better in the ring than Jade Cargill, but as far as like actually like leading a match,
he's just too slow.
Yeah, exactly, too slow. So that's the thing. So I mean, So I mean, like, and even watching the match, like like it was kind of hard to get into it. I mean, the part that really got me into it, like you said, like part of the last 90 seconds was when Nyla Rose hit the Jaded, because I was thinking to myself like, oh snap, like is Jade about to get beat by her own move? But then when she kicked out, I was like, okay. And then when Jade hit the hit the Jaded, yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, this match is over now. So all right, yeah. Now as far as who they're gonna have booked to beat Jade. I don't know.
I got the woman.
Oh,
I got the woman. After what happened with Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter, you know who should beat Jade Cargill ASAP? Serena Deeb. Put that fucking title on Deeb and have her make that title the legit Women's Intercontinental Championship on AEW TV.
Serena Deeb, yeah, that's a good choice. Yeah, definitely.
Put it on fucking Deeb.
Now I'm thinking about it, yeah. I mean, well, for one, Serena Deeb, like she's definitely a good technical wrestler. I mean, she's definitely that good in ring leader. That we were both talking about. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she knows how to carry on the match and everything. So trust and believe. Yeah, that probably would be. Yeah, you're putting the title on Serena Deeb, definitely. Yeah.
ASAP. You can't wait for Statlander. I realized Statlander was the original plan, and it was supposed to be a triple threat between Statlander, Athena, and Jade at All Out. That didn't work out. You cannot wait for her. Or
you put it on Athena. Like, she's also a good.
Athena's fighting for the Ring of Honor World Women's title at Final Battle. Her and Mercedes had a face-off on Rampage.
Yeah, she did. He did, yeah.
So I'm giving Athena the Ring of Honor Women's title. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, now you mentioned Serena Deeb. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say, yeah, Serena. Yeah, she is. Yes, I'll say. Yeah, she is. I'll say she is in a good prime spot to actually, like, take the title off her. Like, definitely, like, get them two going at each other. Like, get the build up and everything. Hopefully, the build up will be a lot better than this one.
Oh, yeah, clear as day. But I still believe that Athena should have taken the title off of Jade Cargill at All Out. Even though it was meant to be Statlander, it was still the best possible route to go. Athena was the second best individual to take that title off of Jade Cargill. But look, ASAP, we need resets with women's champions. Obviously, we have a reset now with Jamie Hayter. Homegrown talent now holds the interim women's world championship, which we will talk about later, which was probably one of the most overwhelmingly positive things on the show. But this clearly one of the biggest overwhelming negative things on the show with Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. They did not gel well together. Clear as day, the build was terrible, like we touched upon. And Jade, she's pretty much run through everyone. It's time to move on from Jade Cargill. Jade honestly needs to lose that title and then take a little break. She has gotten a lot of showcase, a lot of spotlight. She's 42-0. She's held the TBS championship for almost a year now. Even though she wasn't really supposed to, she has held the championship for almost a year now. And it's now time to hit the reset with the TBS championship. Put it on Deeb. Have Deeb run roughshod with it because you could get a lot of mileage out of Serena Deeb. And then when Statlander's ready to come back, give me Statlander and Deeb and have those two tear the fucking house down and have Statlander get her crowning moment by beating probably one of the top three women's wrestlers in the company right now in Serena Deeb. That's what I'm looking at. But before we move on, you got anything else to add?
No. No, he's not. No, I don't have anything else to add on that one.
So from there, we went into a fantastic, I've used that word a lot, but it was fantastic fatal four-way match. This was Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, Sammy Guevara, and the Ocho, Chris Jericho. And by the way, last night I had my dad was here, my friends Jess and Roman were here. Shout out to them. We all had different individuals in this match. Roman had Bryan, my father had Claudio, Jess had Sammy, I had the Ocho. We all put money in, and I ended up winning. So I'm going to be honoring the Ocho for a long time. The Ocho earned me some money, so I'm going to throw that out there. But this was an excellent Fatal 4-Way, probably the best Fatal 4-Way that AEW has produced so far. And shout out to Earl, who is currently in the chat right now. Earl is fantastic. I know Earl was actually there live.
Hey, what's up, Earl?
Cannot wait to see what Earl has in store for the Wrestling Express, and I cannot wait to be back on Earl's channel sooner rather than later. But this story with this match, the main story and the layers of it kind of came out within the match, and that's something that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you need an actual build. But I love the fact that there was just so many underlying layers within this Fatal 4-Way for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, and the fact that Chris Jericho is doing what he's doing with the championship. It just goes to show you that they have big plans to hopefully get a Ring of Honor weekly TV show, probably on Tuesdays, I'm assuming, sooner rather than later. It's going to be a great thing to see, and I cannot wait to see who inevitably takes down Jericho, because whoever takes down Jericho is inevitably going to be better off for it, because Jericho right now is one of the most credible individuals in the company. But let's go over the match. Let's go over the match here. So the BCC, they took it to Sammy and Jericho very early. Bryan and Claudio actually got into it. Jericho came in. He caught a double flapjack by Claudio and Bryan. Sammy came in with a diving cutter on Danielson and Claudio, I believe it was. It was a diving double cutter, if I'm not mistaken. Sammy and Jericho then took over. We had a big double suplex on Bryan. Death Valley driver on Jericho. Jericho went for the pin on Bryan. Sammy seemed a little pissed. So right there, that was part one, at least, of the dissension between Sammy and Jericho. So Sammy was pissed. Bryan then regained control with stiff chest kicks to Sammy and Jericho. We had a beautiful Spanish fly on Bryan by Sammy Guevara. And then we had Jericho coming in. He had a beautiful lion salt on both men. That got it too. Claudio came in, and Claudio, just being Claudio, just fucking deadlifts Jericho, deadlift suplexes him, because he's fucking Claudio. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. We had Claudio then went for the springboard Swiss uppercut. Jericho caught him with a code breaker in midair, and Sammy out of nowhere pulls Jericho out of the cover, and this is where shit really started to pick up. Jericho and Sammy, they went back and forth. Sammy, like the cocky, conceited prick that he is, does a code breaker on Jericho, which was awesome. Then he tried to lock in the walls on Jericho, but Jericho ended up locking in the walls on Sammy. Bryan then came in. Bryan then got locked in the walls of Jericho. Claudio came in, delivered a deadlift suplex into a sharpshooter. Bryan then locked in the label lock. Sammy saved it. Jericho then tried to make up with Sammy. He tried to hug Sammy. He tried to hug it out with Sammy, you know, how they were brothers originally in the Inner Circle. Sammy said, fuck this. And this is where I was having a fucking heart attack, because I actually thought I was going to lose some money here. Sammy delivered the Go to Hospital, the GTH, on the money. Sammy then, with Jericho almost halfway across the ring, delivers a picture-perfect shooting star press for the I was screaming my lungs out. No fucking way. No fucking way. Jericho kicks out. The greatest of near falls I think I've seen in this match thus far. Jericho kicked out. Bryan and Claudio then took it to Sammy. We had a running knee to Claudio. I thought Bryan had won it right there. I thought Bryan had won it. Claudio kicked out. Back and forth we go. Hammer and anvil elbows. We had a big lariat by Claudio, turning Bryan inside out. Bryan kicked out. Both men were now on the top. Sammy with a beautiful avalanche cutter off the top on Claudio, and then an avalanche Spanish fly to Bryan. Bryan said, fuck this, I'm no-selling this, and I'm locking your ass in the label lock. He locked Sammy in the label lock. Jericho saved it. Triangle drop kick to Bryan. Claudio with a gotch neutralizer on Bryan on the floor. Back in the ring, pop-up uppercut to Sammy. Sammy kicked out. Claudio then delivered the swing. Round and round we go. The crowd was counting along with the rotations. Jericho with a Judas effect to Claudio in mid-swing. He was dazed. Sammy was completely fucking out of it because he got his brain scrambled by the swing. Jericho then with another Judas effect, so it took not one but two Judas effects. Claudio is down. 1, 2, 3, and the Ocho retains the Ring of Honor World Championship in perhaps the best Fatal 4-Way that AEW has done thus far. The one thing that I loved about this match the most, bro, is the fact that they made it seem like any one of these 4 individuals could have won. And most of the time with these Fatal 4-Ways, you have a feeling who's in there because they're here to advance a storyline, who's in there to win, who's in there to take the pin. They didn't do that with this Fatal 4-Way. Any one of these individuals could have came out victorious here, and that's what I loved about this match the most. Every single one of these individuals looked great. They all look strong. And again, just like the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy match, even the losers in this match, Sammy, Claudio, and Brian, even they were winners in this match because of what they did, the match that they delivered, the story that they told, and the fact that they made you believe that any one of them could have beaten Jericho and won the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship here. And it's going to be very interesting to see where they go with the BCC, considering that it's pretty much almost done. After what happened in the main event, it could very well be considered done. And then what's going to happen going forward with Brian, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta? Wheeler Yuta's been absent for a little bit. I don't know where he's going to fit into this, but it's definitely going to be interesting. What's going to happen with that? And now what's going to happen with the JAS? Considering Sammy fucked over Jericho, one thing that I took note of with Sammy is the fact that he tried to fuck over Jericho. Daniel Garcia tweeted out during the show, final battle. Daniel Garcia is the pure champion. So I don't know about you. We could be looking down the road and down the barrel of a Sammy versus Daniel Garcia match for the pure championship. That's something that is going to be fantastic come December 10th. But this overall and all around was fantastic. And I know you have a lot to say about it as well. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Let me hear you.
Well, one thing I can say is that the crowd was definitely raucous during that match. A lot of false finishes. Yeah, there were times, and like you said, yeah, like everybody looked strong in this match. Like there was points where anybody could have won this. Could easily won this match. I mean, there was a time I thought Bryan was gonna win. There was a point where, like after Sammy Guevara hit the shooting star press on the Jericho, I thought that he was gonna win. When Claudio locked in the sharpshooter on Jericho, I thought that he was going to win. So, I mean, like, man, like, it was just so much going on. But I also did know that there was going to be times whereas the friends were going to end up fighting each other. Like, it first started with Bryan and Claudio. And then after that, like, I knew that Sammy and Jericho, that Sammy and Jericho was going to face off at one point during the match as well, too. And that was also good as well. All those factors pretty much added to the overall it actually added
suspense.
Yes, yeah, that's the word. Yeah, that's a good word. Yes, it also added suspense as well too, because okay, who's gonna turn on who? Is friendship gonna get the better of them? Is trying to be a champion gonna get the better of them? It's so many underlying factors here. So that's what made the match suspenseful. Because at that point, I was actually rooting for Jericho to win, but I honestly thought that if Jericho didn't win, probably Sammy was gonna win by screwing him over, and it almost happened.
The question here, dude, is what does Jericho do going into Final Battle? Because if Daniel Garcia is calling out Sammy and Sammy's not fighting Jericho, what does Jericho do?
Well, he tweeted. With the Final Battle tweet, he's just pretty. I don't know the actual underlying message underneath it all, except for just he's trying to promote Final Battle on his own Twitter page. I mean, now if he was actually calling someone out in particular, or whatever the case is, he probably would have made that known. But or he could just be just throwing out the. I take it as personally that he's just pretty much just laying out the gauntlet, saying Final Battle's coming up. If anybody wants to step up, step up.
They could do another Yuta match because him and Yuta are 1-1 for the pure championship. So they could bring that into play with Sammy fighting Jericho. But I don't know where they're going to go. There's
that's the thing. Right now it's up in the air.
I can tell you I know where they're going.
Yeah, exactly. Right now it's up in the air. And I can't really pretty much derive too much from that tweet. That's the only thing.
It's definitely going to be interesting. But Where can you see Brian and Claudio going from here? Do you see the BCC inevitably going away? Are they going to fight? Where does Wheeler Yuta and Jon Moxley fit into this after what happened in the main event?
Yeah, that much I don't. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there. I mean, they probably might continue moving forward, minus William Regal, but nonetheless, though, I mean, like I'm curious to see how this is gonna play out.
I mean, look, it's unpredictable, but it's a good type of unpredictable. I just want to see if you may have an idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, because like right now, like again, like I'm still processing everything that went down and everything. So it's like, okay, like I'm pretty much like still trying to like weather this storm first before trying to think about okay what's gonna happen next and what's gonna happen next. But yeah, but there's a lot of different directions it can go. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, like it's so much suspense. Like again, too many options. That this whole thing could take. I mean, but all I know is that like again, all I can do right now is to sit back and just see how this all plays out.
It's definitely something that we're going to keep our eye on. I can definitely see Sammy being a potential challenger for Jericho, or a potential challenger for Daniel Garcia, depending on how they want to play that out. But there's only 2 matches that I can, maybe 3. There's 3 matches that I can tell you right now that I'm almost certain is going to take place at Final Battle, and that's Wardlow versus Joe, Athena versus Mercedes Martinez, and the Embassy versus Dalton Castle and the Boys. But no World Championship match yet. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and we'll see where that leads us. But we're going to move on from that, which was an excellent Fatal 4-Way. We went into Saraya versus Britt Baker. Now, the only thing I'm disappointed at with this, I'm very disappointed that Saraya did not get Falling in Reverse to play her in to Zombified. I've been listening to that song on repeat for the last 10 days, dude. I don't know how I missed it at the beginning of the year, but holy shit, is it a good fucking song. But this storyline, this feud came about at Grand Slam, which we were there for. We were live in attendance for when Saraya made her debut. And it just stunned the entire fucking world. But what were your overall thoughts on the build before I go over everything that happened in the match?
Well, my thoughts on the build was I think it was actually a pretty good build. Like as far as like Saraya coming in, letting Dr. Britt Baker know that there's a new dog in the yard now. Like this ain't your house anymore. Now I'm busting on the door, like I'm coming after you now. And the weeks leading up to this and everything and whatnot, wondering whether or not if Saraya was cleared, if she wasn't cleared and everything. And then when we all got the word that she is cleared, that she actually said that I'm coming after you, this could be the biggest match of your career and everything. It's like, oh, I at first, I was kind of a little bit okay, whoa, okay, Saraya, in the grand scheme of things, she hasn't wrestled a match in 5 years, and she's going up against pretty much, arguably, the best woman, the best female wrestler in AEW right now. So it's like, okay, I said, Saraya, you going into this, I said, you going in, I said, there's no saying, they say if you're going to come after the king, you better not miss. Well, in this case, if you're going to come after the queen, you better not miss. You better deliver.
She was thrown into the deep end.
Exactly. So that's the thing. So I'm like, I don't know whose call this was though, but whoever's call it is, hey, I hope they made the right call on this one. At least that was pretty much my only reservation going into this. Now I had no doubt that it was actually going to be a good match. That was no doubt in my mind. I was just like, okay, the only thing I was worried about, is Saraya going to be, is she pretty much going to look a little bit off? Is she going to be again, there's so many X factors in this. Is she going to get re-injured? Things we didn't know how this was going to go. But all I did know is that Saraya is going up against one of the best against the best in AEW. They better bring it.
Oh, absolutely. So, the one thing that was the biggest takeaway from this match, and we'll go over it in just a little bit, the fact that, again, just like the Fatal 4-Way, just like the Steel Cage, we're going to say this a lot, there were no losers in this match. No losers in this match whatsoever, and we're going to explain why in just a little bit. So, Britt tried to slow the pace down, and she actually, I believe she wrenched or she threw Saraya down, and Saraya actually played us all for fools. She was down and she was moving slow, gingerly. Britt looked like she wanted to fucking cry. And Saraya was like, no, I got you, bitch. I fooled all you fucking morons. You're all marks, and I'm the puppet master. So Saraya fooled everyone right there. She fooled me. She fooled me. But Saraya faked it. Saraya just having fun with the scenario. Baker with elbows right to the neck. And this is something that came completely as a shock to me. Saraya, I actually thought that they were going to ease her into things, but holy shit, she was going balls to the wall. She was taking all sorts of fucking nasty bumps in this, including a swinging neck breaker off of the apron onto the floor right in front of her own brother, which added a lot to the story. I thought that was a great bitch move by Britt Baker right there. That was great. Baker ragdolled Saraya right in front of her own brother. Baker then wrenched on the neck. Baker came back with a running neck breaker on Saraya, clean and crisp. Saraya came back with a diving crossbody to the floor. She then traded strikes back and forth with Britt, one after the other after the other. Saraya then with some short arm clotheslines for a 2. Saraya stomped a mud hole in Britt Baker, moving a little slow, moving a little gingerly, trying to just feel everything out. She then picked up the pace with a page turner, which looked very good, very crisp. That got a 2 count. Baker then went for the lockjaw, but Saraya got to the ropes. We had an air raid crash by Britt Baker. Saraya kicked out. This is something I didn't expect. Curb stomp connects by Britt Baker. Not only one, she delivered a second one later on in the match, which we'll talk about, but the one thing that I commend Britt Baker for is she didn't go directly for the head. She went more in the shoulder area, which was very professional by Britt Baker. Saraya kicked out. Both women now on top. Saraya with an avalanche sunset flip powerbomb, the cradle DDT. Saraya only got a 2 count. Britt then turned a full Nelson slam. Saraya had her in a full Nelson slam. Britt turned it around, swung herself around, planted Saraya on her stomach, locked in the lockjaw. Saraya then rolled through, reversed it, back and forth counters, pin for pin for pin. Saraya with a super kick, running knee, Baker kicked out, rolling elbow by Britt, rolling neck breaker, which looked stiff as fuck. This looked stiff as fuck. Another curb stomp. So she didn't take 1, she took 2. Baker only got a 2 count. Baker couldn't believe it. Baker was beside herself. Saraya then with a super kick and 2 cradle DDTs for the 1-2-3 victory. Saraya, for 5 years away, she looked great. Obviously, there was some nerves. I expected it. The crowd was nervous. The fans watching at home were nervous. I was nervous. Saraya and Britt Baker, you could tell everyone was nervous. That is normal because of everything that happened with Saraya and everything that took place with her. And in the end, everything worked out perfectly. It went 12, 13 minutes. Baker looked like a fucking professional out there. She made sure that her moves were clean and crisp, but they were safe to a point where they did not attempt to injure Saraya further. She took care of Saraya in the ring, and Saraya went out there. She took a lot of nasty bumps, and they were placed in a very tough spot too. Following that fatal 4-way, they were placed in a very, very rough spot going up after that excellent fatal 4-way. But in the end, they pulled it together. They worked their fucking asses off in that match, and they gave us a very, very solid women's match from start to finish, probably easily the second best women's match of the night. And they really showed everyone that, listen, the AEW women's division, it may not have always been the greatest, but when we're given the opportunity, we're going to show you that we can fucking go. And Saraya, she should be damn fucking proud of herself, and Britt Baker as well. There were absolutely no losers in this match. Britt Baker was already a made woman. She was going to take the loss here, and that's exactly what she did. Saraya, you can tell it was emotional for her. It was emotional for her family. And in the end, Saraya ends up getting the victory in a women's match in which both women worked their asses off. They did very well. And Saraya, in the end, she looked great. And All I have to say is props to both women. They did a very good job. Antonio, let me hear it.
Yeah, definitely. They both did a great job. And like we said earlier, like Dr. Britt Baker, like she's definitely that good ring leader as far as like she knows how to pretty much like, take charge of the match and everything. And that's what she definitely did here. Like as far as like, making sure that that Soraya didn't get hurt or didn't get like, or like, try to exacerbate any lingering injuries. Like, they played it safe. Like even when, so like I said, like, so there was some points where like, Soraya looked off or even like, worked with caution a little bit. Like when she went for that cross body, like, like right before actually just going straight, like she lowered the center of gravity first and then went into the crossbody, like, to pretty much like, play it safe. Like, and when she also did the sunset flip off the turnbuckle, power bombing, Dr. Britt Baker onto in the ring, off the turnbuckle, like, she kind of slipped a little bit there though. But yeah, so again, like that kind of like, I mean, I'm pretty sure other fans might have noticed that. I'm pretty sure you might have caught that as well too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I said like there were some points when she looked off though. But overall, I mean, for this to be her first match back in 5 years, she definitely did deliver. Like Dr. Britt Baker, like she definitely like helped like like she definitely worked with Soraya in that match as well too. Both these ladies delivered as well too. And even Dr. Britt Baker, like even though she did lose, like again, she already proved herself, like as far as like being the best woman in the being the best female wrestler in the AEW. Like, she's definitely a former champion. Like, she had a good champion. She had a good title and she already won her championship and everything. So the least she could do is pretty much like, try to help elevate other people as well too. And I say the best thing to do is pretty much like, at least show the world that, yes, I'm a former world champion, but yet I'm not afraid to put anyone else over. Like, still like,
She's been losing a lot as of lately too.
What happened?
I had no problem with that.
Yeah.
She's been putting a lot of talent over.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, like she already like proved her worth and everything in AEW. Like she was like she was there when the AEW first opened its doors. Like she again like she she won a championship and everything. So it's like she had no so again like she had nothing to lose by putting Soraya over.
Yeah, absolutely.
She did, and on top of that, like and she worked a good ass match and everything. Like she showed that like that she could actually like be cautious in the ring, like work with any like and still work with her and everything, and still deliver like a very good top notch match, even that like right after a good phenomenal fatal 4-way match, and everything. So it's like, yeah, like both these women were winners in the end.
The one thing that I want to ask you here, I don't know specifically where Soraya goes. I can definitely see Soraya potentially. I see her working more of an Edge schedule, of a Sting schedule. I don't see her wrestling every week. There's mainly no reason for her to. She's not there to wrestle every week. She's there to only be brought out during the important matches and the important shows. But her main value is when she inevitably finishes this in-ring comeback. Her main value is going to be behind the scenes and working on creatively writing, booking, and producing the AEW, and potentially, if they want to, the Ring of Honor women's division. I mean, they could have Maria Kanellis do that as well, considering Maria Kanellis, she produced the Ring of Honor women's division before Tony Khan bought it, and Roxy, a.k.a. Roxanne Perez, ended up becoming the inaugural champion. And I got no problem with Roxanne Perez. I think she's great in her own right. But Soraya's value is definitely going to be mainly behind the scenes once this comeback story ends. But right now, she is going to take on more of an Edge schedule, which is a good thing, just to try and keep an eye on the injury to the neck and to the back and obviously the spinal stenosis history. And I do believe that in the end, we will inevitably see Soraya take on a backstage role once this in-ring comeback is over. I don't know where she goes from here. I definitely love to see a potential match with a Toni Storm. I definitely love to see a potential match with a Shida. They could definitely work that into everything, mainly because of the fact that they are in-ring leaders. Obviously, you got to watch the Sweet Cheeks music with Toni Storm because that shit. Listen, I'm pretty sure a lot of straight guys would want to be on the receiving end of that, but it's fucking deadly. I'm telling you, that shit's a lethal weapon. Okay, just want to point that out.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm sorry, did you have something to say?
Yeah, well, one thing I can say is that yeah, well, as far as where Soraya goes from here, well, one thing is that right now it's definitely is that pretty much like she should avoid this on the title picture right now at all costs. I mean, like it's very, like it's too soon. All right, like like definitely don't put her in the title picture. If anything, like you said, like there's multiple dream matches that she could actually take that she could actually do. Like again, she could work with Sheeta, she could work with excuse me, she could work with Tony Storm. She could even who else what other female wrestlers on the roster right now? What happened?
Thunder Rosa?
Yeah, Thunder Rosa, yeah. So like there's multiple matches that she could do, multiple feuds that she could actually do. Like you don't necessarily she doesn't necessarily have to be thrown into the title picture in order to elevate a character or whatever the case is. Especially since if what you said is true, and if she's pretty much going to be doing more of a backstage role or a managerial role or whatever the case is, she doesn't need the championship to do that, or she doesn't need a title.
She's putting someone over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if she does go after if she does go after the championship. Let her if anything, let the person holding the champion already or hold the championship go over in that match. Yeah, well, she doesn't need the championship right now.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as Britt Baker, I see Britt Baker right now. I see her sticking with Jamie Hayter just a little bit, especially after what happened in her title match, which we will talk about. And I do believe that Thunder Rosa, she's due back any week now. I do believe that we're probably going to get a unification match between Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter, and we're going to get that probably on the first Dynamite in 2023, or potentially at Battle of the Belts 5. I believe that's on January 7th, 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And after we get that, I do believe that is when Britt is inevitably going to turn on Jamie Hayter, and we're going to get Britt Baker versus Jamie Hayter at Revolution, with Jamie Hayter inevitably solidifying herself as a woman that's going to stand alone, a woman that's going to fight for herself, and a woman that's easily going to be the top babyface in the company, and she's going to beat Britt Baker at Revolution. That's how I see everything playing out.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it does play out like that, honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, as far as her and Dr. Britt Baker actually going at it at Revolution, the build is already there, given we'll talk more about that later on, as far as the way that Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm match ended, the build up is already there. So that's the only thing that Tony Khan and the creative team, the only job that they have to do is to not mess it up. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's their job. To not mess it up.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that for sure. But Saraya and Britt Baker, they definitely worked their asses off, and both women should be absolutely proud of what they did. Was not the best, but it was damn good for what it was. They worked their asses off. They did well. Saraya looked great, and it is a great thing to see Saraya back in the ring, and you can tell just how passionate she is about what she does. And Britt Baker, like we said, looked like an absolute professional out there. So props to both women. From there,
absolutely.
From there, we went into the TNT Championship match. This was Wardlow, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs. This was not as good as I was expecting it to be, but that does not mean it was bad. It was very hard-hitting. There was two things about this match. Number one, it felt a little too short. It feels like it could have still gone on for another 4 or 5 more minutes, number one. And number two, I don't know what it was with the outcome of this match, but the outcome of this match, this was probably the match that pissed me off most because of what happened in the end. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Wardlow went right on the attack right after Joe, no wasted motion. Hobbs then bulldozed over Wardlow. Hobbs obviously doing what Hobbs usually does. Also, there were some people that were actually asking, well, does Hobbs own a shirt? Because he's always walking around without a shirt. Let me tell you something. If I looked like Powerhouse Hobbs, I'd be walking around without a fucking shirt too. I'd be walking around. The guy is a walking fucking building, and you're telling me
the guy's jacked. Yeah, he's a big dude.
Seriously, the guy's shoulders are bigger than my fucking head. I'm not going to tell him what to fucking wear. You're going to tell him what to fucking wear? Seriously.
No, hell no.
But, so Hobbs, he just fucking bulldozed over Wardlow because he's fucking Hobbs. He can do whatever he wants. Hobbs with a beautiful delayed vertical suplex on Wardlow. One thing I will say, Hobbs was not ready, but I have loved the progression of Hobbs. I'm a Hobbs guy, and I do believe that Hobbs has a lot of good mileage on him. He's gotten himself into the best shape of his career. He has progressed a lot from day one. And when he was with Team Taz, that's definitely helped him a lot. I've been loving what Powerhouse Hobbs has been doing. But Hobbs bulldozed Wardlow, delivered a great vertical suplex to him. Hobbs then showed off his power even more, delivered an exploder suplex to Samoa Joe. And Joe's bigger and more heavier than both of these men. So that was impressive. Wardlow, out of fucking nowhere, Wardlow thinks he's Jeff Hardy and does a fucking, and this, you know how Jeff Hardy does the whisper in the wind and it's a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Wardlow, he does the fucking whisper and he fucking flew halfway across the ring. And I believe, did he land on his feet? I think he may have landed on his feet too.
No, he didn't land on his feet though. Like I think he landed on his feet. Well, he tried to land on his feet though, but however, I think he tried to use his feet to try to cushion the fall.
Yeah. But dude, he fucking flew.
Yeah. And Wardlow's a big dude, and he's moving like he's our size.
Dude, I didn't know what to fucking think. I actually was like, holy shit, and everyone here watching last night can attest to that. I didn't know what the fuck I just saw.
Yeah, even everybody in the arena was all like, "Oh, wow, like what just happened? Like, did Wardlow really just do that?"
Unfucking believable is Wardlow, but Wardlow channeled his inner Jeff Hardy with the whisper in the wind. Then he did it like it was nothing too. He just does it so fucking effortlessly. Wardlow then delivered a beautiful, still channeling his inner Jeff Hardy, beautiful swanton bomb on Hobbs. Joe broke it up with a running senton. Joe with the corner enziguri on Hobbs, running boot to the face and a senton on Wardlow. That got a 2 count. Joe then got bulldozed by Hobbs again. Hobbs delivered a big slam on Wardlow. Or excuse me, Wardlow slammed Hobbs. Wardlow slammed Hobbs. Hobbs was out for the time being. And then Joe came running in. Hobbs was down. And Wardlow delivered spinebuster on Joe. That got a 2 count. Hobbs and Wardlow were on the outside. Joe comes running in like a fucking freight train through the fucking ropes with a suicide dive. Still, every time Joe does that, it's such a beautiful thing to see. A guy like Joe doing that with his size and his age. So Wardlow and Hobbs were out. Hobbs then recovered and pounced Joe into the barricade. Joe looked like he hit hard into the barricade. Hobbs and Wardlow back into the ring. Hobbs was measuring Wardlow. Hobbs hit the last will and testament spinebuster, which, by the way, I love that name, the last will and testament. And I also love when he says, I'm going to open up a new chapter in the book of Hobbs. That right there is probably one of my favorite lines from anyone in AEW. It obviously it sounds biblical and it just sounds so impactful. That's what I love about Powerhouse Hobbs. If he emphasizes that even more and just continues to roll with that, I honestly think that Hobbs is going to be a monster fucking heel. He's like a combination of Mark Henry and Keith Lee. He's agile like Keith Lee, but he's got the almost the in-ring style. Like he's kind of half and half. He's got half of Mark Henry and half of Keith Lee in terms of the in-ring style. And he looks like Keith Lee. He looks like a little bit more in shape version of Keith Lee, but he moves like Mark Henry. So he's kind of taken like the best of both worlds and kind of putting them together with what he's doing. And that's something that I really love about Hobbs. But Hobbs, he hit the last will and testament spinebuster. Wardlow kicked out. Wardlow then began the Powerbomb Symphony. He got 1. He got 2. He got 3. He got 4. Joe, out of nowhere, bulldozes Wardlow with, I believe it was the Ring of Honor World Championship, World Television Championship, or was it the TNT title?
It was a TNT title. Yeah, it was the TNT title.
Okay. So it was the TNT title. Wardlow then choked out Hobbs. Hobbs was pretty much out at that point, and Hobbs did not submit, and Wardlow was not pinned. Hobbs passed out, and we got a new TNT champion. Hard-hitting match. Wish it could have gone longer, but it was fine for what it was. Shocking ending, though. I don't think anyone expected this ending whatsoever. Now, I got a lot to say about this, so I'm actually going to throw it over to you. I want to hear what you got to say about this.
Okay, well, I feel like the match was actually, it felt like it was rushed. Like that was the thing about it. Like it felt rushed. All right. Like honestly, like being that like we saw like the hard hitting stuff even like right from the gate and everything. It's like okay,
I
like
don't
all
mind
right,
it right from the get-go, but it just felt so short.
yeah, exactly. That's how I kind of knew it was going to be a short match. Yeah, like or that it wasn't going to be a long match, which is why like yeah, which that was the kind of vibe that I got from it. Now again, which is why I kind of felt like Wardlow was pretty much like doing what he was doing, like to pretty much like get the crowd to be like ooh ah, and he did, he definitely did, like like to show that like yes he's a powerhouse though, but he's also an agile dude, like the dude like again like he did the whisper of the wind like halfway across the ring, and it was like everybody was like oh, and then
he's
and
done
then
it
the part
before, but it's always so impressive every time. He's done it
yeah.
before, but it's always so impressive.
Yeah, and then when he went for the Swanton bomb, he almost slipped off the rope, but then he recovered quick. So yeah, like I don't know if you caught that, but yeah, but yeah, like this thing, he almost slipped off the rope though, but yeah, but then he made a good recovery. So at least that was good, because otherwise, if he did slip off the rope, yeah, this would be a whole different conversation. Yeah, but yeah, so but the finish though, on the other hand, I mean, I get that it's a triple threat, so there's no disqualification, so that's one thing.
I mean, it's an ingenious move, I will say that.
Yeah, yeah. So at least yeah, it was a genius move, like like that, actually, like take out Wardlow with the championship, and then Hobbs was already done, so all he had to do was pretty much like just choke him out and get the technical submission on that part. So I mean. So yeah, I mean, but as far as like putting the championship on Joe, I don't think that was the right move. But again, I'm not a writer, but nonetheless, all was done is done, though. But yeah, I don't think that was the right move. I honestly thought that Wardlow was going to retain.
He should have.
Yeah, like I thought he was going to retain, but yeah, but what can I say though? But like I said, like like I felt like the match felt rushed.
Trust me, I got a lot to say about this. Listen. First of all, I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm going to say here. I love Joe, especially heel Joe. Heel Joe is great. The move that Joe did was ingenious. And on top of that, I am very happy that Joe is getting a big rub and a big push. This is the type of Samoa Joe that we should have gotten in WWE, but Vince McMahon just decided to fucking bury him. Joe is a fucking killer, and he's just looking to take out anyone by any means necessary and win all the fucking titles that he could possibly win. That I'm happy about. However, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Joe needed this, mainly because of the fact that Joe is not the guy with the most mileage in this match. Hobbs is not ready. He will be ready one day, but he was not ready. Wardlow is the guy who is the individual they should be building up in this moment, because Wardlow, obviously, he's coming out of the feud with MJF, the winner. He came out of that feud and fought for the TNT title and won the TNT title. Wardlow, realistically, if you think about it, he could be in the lead. He could be the number one guy to take the title off of MJF when the time is right. But that's not going to happen now, because MJF, he's at least holding that title 300, 400, maybe even 500 days. MJF is going on a Roman Reigns-esque world title reign sooner rather than later, and MJF is going to be the top heel in the industry for years to come. So what do you do with Wardlow? The best idea would be to keep Wardlow looking strong for the time being and keep that TNT title on him and have him hold it for as long as he possibly could. Now, I understand that he wasn't pinned. I understand that he was protected, and Hobbs was protected too, but that still doesn't mean that Joe needed to win. Joe and Wardlow getting the one-on-one match, I do believe that that's where we're headed for Ring of Honor Final Battle, but I don't understand why you needed to take this route to get there. I really don't understand why you needed to take this route to get there, because realistically, Joe, he's the type of guy that could easily be used on AEW TV in more high priority roles rather than giving him the TNT title and Ring of Honor World TV Championship just to drop it back to Wardlow. Because here's the thing, if Wardlow's not winning both titles, I don't understand what we're doing here. This should have been the plan. Wardlow should have beaten Hobbs in this match. Wardlow should have pinned Hobbs. Joe could have came out on Dynamite, and he should have said, hey, listen, big man, listen, War Dog, you didn't pin me. So you know what? Let's run this back, you and me, final battle, title for title, and Wardlow should have walked away with both championships. Now you just completely ruined Wardlow's momentum. You took the title off of him. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, they could potentially have Wardlow just win the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, but I don't understand why you would trade one for the other, because now Wardlow needs to start all over again. Wardlow should have kept the TNT title, gone into Final Battle, defended the TNT title, and he should have beaten Joe. And in the process, he should have won the Ring of Honor World Television title. He should have become the longest reigning TNT champion. And then once he drops one championship, he still has the other one to fall back on, at least until MJF has had a long enough title reign to a point where he's ready to drop the championships. I love Joe. He's great. Heel Joe's fantastic. And I'm happy for Joe, but in no way, shape, or form did Joe need this. This should have been a Wardlow victory, and a Wardlow victory in 3 weeks' time at Final Battle, with Wardlow walking away with both titles. We could still get that, but it would not have been as impactful if Wardlow didn't have the TNT Championship. It's not going to be as impactful. It should have been title for title with both men, and Wardlow should have retained here. I don't understand why they did this. It was very bizarre, really.
Yeah, very bizarre indeed. Yeah, like now that you pretty much broke it down like that. Yeah, truth be told, Joe really didn't need it. Like he really didn't. I mean, like in the grand scheme of like now looking at in the grand scheme of things, I mean, like if we're they should if that is the route that they're gonna go and they're gonna have Joe and Wardlow face each other off at Final Battle, then Wardlow has to win that. Otherwise, the build-up that they did the build-up that they did for Wardlow pretty much doesn't mean anything.
And you pretty much halted his momentum. His TNT title reign didn't even get started.
Yeah, true.
This should have been a staple win in his TNT title reign, and it wasn't. It wasn't. You just pretty much fucked up all his momentum. This pissed me off, dude. This really did piss me off.
Yeah, now, I mean, I hope this also doesn't turn into a situation whereas, him and Joe are going to be playing hot potato with the title. I mean, we saw that with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky, and yeah, so, I mean, I'm hoping that they don't go that route. But that's the thing, if anything, if they were going to face off at Final Battle, it would have been more poetic if Wardlow would have kept the TNT Championship and Joe had his championship, and they would have went title for title, as opposed to now Wardlow's walking in with nothing and Joe's walking in with everything, and that was going to happen there.
I don't know why they did it. I honestly don't know why they did it. I don't know where Tony Khan's mindset is with Wardlow right now, and I'm not sure if it was a type of deal where he wants to put Joe on AEW and he wants to give Wardlow the Ring of Honor World Television Championship because he wants to really establish that title with a guy like Wardlow and have the young generation take over Ring of Honor. I don't know, but if you're asking me, I don't want to see a title for title match now. The best route would be to have Joe drop the Ring of Honor World Television Championship and have Wardlow run Ring of Honor while Joe is TNT champion on AEW TV. Because if Joe drops the title right back to Wardlow and Wardlow holds both championships, it's going to make the TNT title feel like a hot potato once again.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, me personally, I don't want to see that again.
No. I don't know what happened with the TNT Championship in the middle of this year, but Wardlow was doing just fine with that title.
He was.
Why they should have taken the title off them.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go into that in depth more as the months go on. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you on once again in the coming months, probably in the beginning of 2023. Maybe you can come back for Revolution. But from there, we went into Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. This was no DQ, no countout match. Now, I did not mind the build. I did not mind the build for this match. What I minded was the outcome. It's the same thing. Same thing with the Wardlow, Hobbs, and Joe match. The outcome of this match, I don't know why they gave it to Sting and Darby, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, Jeff Jarrett came out with his Sting squad to mock Sting. Darby pulled a little punk fake on them. He put a body bag on the stage, and he kind of faked out everyone. He took out all the Sting goons with his skateboard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Skateboard,
yeah. I thought it was a baseball bat initially, but then I took a closer look at it. I was like, oh, no. Hang on. It's a skateboard. It's a skateboard. I'm sorry. Did you have something to say?
Oh, no. Go on.
Okay. So from there we had obviously Sting came up from behind Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett being the chicken shit heel. Oh, no, please don't do anything. And Sting and Darby, they just went into it on Jeff Jarrett. Sting dropped Jay Lethal back first on the apron. So Jay Lethal, right out of the gate, took a fucking nasty bump. The brawl spilled into the crowd. Darby brought out a ladder. I mean, of course he did. If Darby can get up somewhere, he's going to jump off of it. Darby jumped from the ladder. He jumped at least 25 fucking feet because the ladder was elevated on the stage and there was a lower portion below the stage. Satnam Singh caught him in midair. Props to Satnam Singh for catching him as good as he did. And then he carried him in the Razor's Edge position, delivered a spinning Razor's Edge to Darby on the stage, which looked great. Dutt and Satnam then came to aid Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett was currently tied up with Darby. Sting jumped out of the mezzanine and dove onto Satnam, Dutt, and Jay Lethal. Jeff Jarrett then took over on Darby. Jeff Jarrett did his strut. Darby was then isolated. Sting tagged in. He took it to Lethal and Jarrett with a couple of Stinger splashes, a Scorpion Deathlock. Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh came in. Sting got hit with a choke slam by Satnam Singh. Sting kicked out. Tag to Darby and Lethal. Lethal hit the lethal combination. Darby kicked out. Darby then went up for the coffin drop, but Jeff Jarrett hit him with a guitar in midair, which was actually very, very nice. Darby was out. Darby then kipped up. He said, fuck this shit. You hit me with a guitar. I don't give a shit. I'm going to fucking kip up. The crowd went nuts. Darby was banging on his chest like Sting. Darby then delivered a double springboard coffin splash. And then, this was actually a great spot right here. This was probably my favorite spot of the match. Darby and Sting delivered a coffin drop, Scorpion Death Drop combination to Satnam Singh simultaneously, which looked great. Darby then hit a suicide dive on Jeff Jarrett. Sting, he tried to reverse the lethal injection. He delivered a very weak Scorpion Death Drop. He just couldn't hold him. This was botched to the highest extent. But I will say this. Darby Allin is a fucking professional here. Just like Britt Baker, Darby Allin's a fucking professional. Darby Allin saw the botch. Darby Allin, like the professional that he is, climbed up to the top, delivered the coffin drop on Jay Lethal for the win to try to keep the flow of the match going. And that I very much appreciate. But before I get into what I'm going to get into, I'm going to throw it over to you. I want to hear what your thoughts, your opinions, your analytical dissection of this no DQ, no countout match.
Well, one thing I can say is that that the match was very high energy in the beginning. When Sting, well, one thing I can say is that when Sting and Jay Lethal pretty much started making their way into the crowd, I think that was where I pretty much had my first cameo because they actually came over right literally by me. Like I
didn't catch that. I had my head in my notepad. I didn't catch that. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it actually.
Okay, yeah, like I actually touched Sting, like him and Jay Lethal, like they literally came right by me and everything, like like I Sting pretty much got past me, like I actually touched Sting as they pretty much made their way up to the as they pretty much made their way up through the section and everything, and I actually witnessed firsthand Sting doing the cross body onto Jay Lethal and Sting and Dutt and all those guys. So yeah, so to me that was the best spot to me because I actually got to see it up that close. But yeah, another best spot was when they actually did hit the Scorpion Death Drop, Coffin Drop combination onto Singh, and then the Jay Lethal spot. Well, before I get into the Jay Lethal spot, another spot was that you had mentioned as well too, like where Darby went for the coffin drop, and then Jeff Jarrett actually hit Darby with the guitar. Now that was a well executed spot there as well. And
that would have been disastrous, but they played it off well.
Yeah, they did. Like that's like the guitar didn't hit Darby in the head. Like it actually hit him like right there, like on the right there on the top of his back. Like that was where it hit him. So at least that was actually orchestrated well because if he would have got hit in the head with the guitar, that would not look good. But the Jay Lethal spot with Sting, like Jay Lethal, he went for lethal injection. Sting Like again, like he tried to catch him and go for a Scorpion Death Drop. I mean, it was a botch to a degree because again, like because it wasn't a fairly legit catch, but it actually looked like he actually pretty much like actually reversed it into an immediate Scorpion Death Drop. So I mean, they could have played it off like that, but then like you said, with Darby being a professional that he is, like he pretty much like did the recovery, and plus Darby was the legal man, so that was so that was another thing. Like he pretty much went up to the top and then hit the coffin drop on for the finish. As far as now going off of what you had said at first, as far as Darby and Sting, like you don't understand why they actually went over. I kind of understand why they did actually go over. I mean, hey, Darby and Sting are actually hot right now. Like the fans actually, like everybody was all cheering for them. Like the fans liked them. I mean, like Sting, he's hard to believe Sting is 63 years old. Is still moving the way he's moving. Like that part shocked me. Like he's 63 years old. He's still doing cross bodies off the top of shit and everything. And it's like, holy crap! Like whoa.
No, don't get me wrong. I completely understand that. But the reason being is the fact that they're so hot with the crowd to a point where, do they really need the victory? Did they need that victory? Because for me, Jeff Jarrett wasn't just brought in as the director of business development, which that's a fine backstage role for him. But if anything, Jeff Jarrett should have been in the position where he is helping Jay Lethal get over. This match should have been a point in time where Jay Lethal should have been taken to that next level. I thought that Jay Lethal should have won the Ring of Honor TV championship from Joe back in July. They didn't pull the trigger there. I don't know why. I mean, it was still a great match. I just still don't know why they didn't do that. But as far as this match goes, this should have easily been a scenario where Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal should have came out victorious with Jay Lethal getting the victory, and Jay Lethal could have moved up potentially to fighting either Orange Cassidy or Wardlow, who should have retained his TNT championship at the show last night. That's where my mindset was at. Sting and Darby are fine, but right now, did they really need the victory? I didn't see it.
I think they probably. I'm hoping that this actually leads to a push for the AEW for the AEW Tag Team Championships for Darby and Sting. That's what I'm hoping. I mean, like that would probably be like the only sensible outcome for this, as far as them two getting the victory, is that it actually leads to them going at getting a shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships. If not, then I actually sympathize with you as far as like they didn't need this. They actually didn't need the victory. I mean, if anything, do what they can actually build them up to actually show that they're actually good championship contenders. Other than that, they didn't need this.
I will say this though: if we are going to be talking about Darby and Sting fighting for the World Tag Team titles, when they do, they should lose and Sting should turn on Darby Allin because when we inevitably get the Sting versus Darby match, that is going to be where Darby Allin beats Sting, gets elevated to the next level, and then the next step after that is Darby Allin versus MJF for the World Championship, and we are going to relive that unbelievable match that we saw at Full Gear in 2021. That is where it's leading. So listen, if we're going to do that, I would somewhat understand it. At the same point in time, I would still be a little pissed off that they're not really doing too much with Jay Lethal, because I want to see Jay Lethal in a more high priority role. But if that's where we're going, Darby and Sting losing with Sting turning on Darby, booking that match, having Darby put over Sting, and then Darby moves on to the world title, I think Sting could actually favor very well in a backstage role too, because he fucking knows the business. And who knows the business better than fucking Sting? He knows what it takes in order to succeed, and he has been doing so much shit for AEW that people like Darby should be doing. But Darby, but I mean, obviously Darby's doing it, but at the same point in time, if Sting is working the same type of style as a Darby Allin or a Jay Lethal, something like that, that just goes to show you how much Sting knows about the business and what he can do for AEW backstage once he inevitably steps away from the ring. So I really do hope that if they're going to fight for the tag team titles, like you said, which is a decent idea, I do believe that they should lose. Sting turns on Darby, Darby beats Sting, and then Darby moves on to fight MJF, whether he wins or he loses.
Well, one thing I can say is that if they ask now going back to what you said, like as far as Jay Lethal getting that singles push, if anything, the tag team match wasn't the best way to do that either. Like if anything, like they probably could have had a singles match between Darby Allin and Jay Lethal, and like and with Jeff Jarrett this thing being ringside, like that probably would have been better if they pretty much really wanted to push Jay Lethal as a singles competitor. Like that probably would have been a better route. Which is why I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, since they haven't gone that way and pretty much still riding the wave of Sting and Darby, I mean they could be leading to something for them too. I mean, who knows?
We'll have to keep an eye on that for sure, but
definitely.
The match was fine, but the outcome, I mean, Sting and Darby are already so over. I really don't understand why we are not putting more focus on Jay Lethal. I mean, Jeff Jarrett was going to be a managerial figure anyway. Jeff Jarrett would really supposed to be the Sting to Jay Lethal's Darby Allin, but I don't know. It's definitely something that just left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Not as much as what happened with Wardlow, but still, it really wasn't. It just didn't really sit well with me too much. I'll tell you something that did sit well with me, though. Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the AEW Interim Women's World Championship. This was absolutely fantastic. It went 15 minutes. It felt like it went longer than 15 minutes because of the story that they told and how much the crowd was invested in it. But these two women fucking showed up to fucking work. These two women, they went out there and they fucking tore the fucking house down. If you were to look at me and tell me that this was your favorite match of the night, I would not look at you weirdly whatsoever. This is women's fucking wrestling right here. And this is exactly what we need going forward. So going over the match here, and the best part about it is they started off slow, and they slowly crescendoed into the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth gear, all the way into the 50th gear until they got to the ending. Jamie Hayter was in control early. Storm regained control. She hit Sweet Cheeks music, the lethal weapon that we were talking about earlier, and a diving crossbody for a 2. Storm with a beautiful tornado DDT for a 2. A big headbutt. She fell into the cover. Jamie Hayter kicked out. Rebel then made her way out. Storm was actually bleeding. I believe it was from her nose, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
it was.
She was busted open pretty bad. So she was wearing the fucking battle scars pretty early. We had some forearms and back elbows, back and forth, off the ropes, 1, 2, 3. Jamie Hayter then went into it and just punched down Toni Storm in the neck. Rebel then hit Toni Storm with the belt in the back. The referee didn't see it. Ushi-Goroshi by Hayter, sliding lariat. I thought this was it. Storm kicked out. Rebel was then ejected. So Rebel was out. Storm then said, all right, you want to play that game? Ripcord lariat. She hit Jamie Hayter's finisher on Jamie Hayter. Ripcord lariat. Hayter kicked out. Britt then with a stomp. Britt came out of nowhere. This is where I actually thought that Britt may have cost Jamie Hayter. I didn't think Jamie Hayter was winning this. I legit thought that Britt Baker, out of jealousy, was going to cost Jamie Hayter because Jamie Hayter's getting this opportunity and Britt Baker just lost to Saraya. So Britt Baker's just taking out her anger on Jamie Hayter. Now that didn't happen, but Britt Baker out of nowhere with a stomp on Toni Storm on the title behind the referee's back. Hayter then says, all right, you want to play stealing my finisher? I'm going to do it to you. Hayter hit Storm Zero on Toni Storm. She hit Storm Zero on Toni Storm. Storm kicked out. Unbelievable. So the crowd's going nuts. Crowd is mega behind Jamie Hayter. We had a German suplexes by Toni Storm into the Storm Zero. I thought Toni Storm retained it here. Hayter kicked out. Britt then got knocked down by Toni Storm off the apron. Hayter with a backbreaker. And you want to talk, we talk about Sweet Cheeks music being a lethal weapon. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that backbreaker by Jamie Hayter. It legitimately looks like it could break a fucking spine. I do not put me anywhere near Jamie Hayter in that backbreaker. Storm kicked out. Baker was then trying to fiddle with the turnbuckle pad. All of a sudden, Jamie Hayter was then whipped into Britt Baker, and this was the moment where I actually thought that Storm was going to get the win here. Hayter reversed Storm, whatever she was going for. Hayter then threw Toni Storm into the exposed buckle, ripcord lariat, 1, 2, 3. The crowd fucking erupted when the referee hit 3, and Jamie Hayter wins the AEW Interim Women's World Championship. I had Toni Storm winning. I thought that Toni Storm was actually going to get aided by Britt Baker, not turning Toni Storm heel, but turning Jamie Hayter into an uber babyface against Britt Baker, who's the jealous bitch of the group. But after the match, after the crowd reaction, the ending, everything that went into this, I'm telling you, this was the right call. I cannot sit here and tell you that this wasn't the right call. Tony Khan, he saw the opportunity. He knew that Jamie Hayter was over, and he fucking capitalized on it. Was this the best AEW women's title match to date? I don't know, man. I think so. It's up there. But I want to hear your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on this women's match?
Well, this match from start to finish was awesome. Like the crowd, like being part of that, like being there with the crowd. Like I mean, like we always chanting for Jamie Hayter. Like we was all pulling for Jamie Hayter to win. I actually wanted Jamie Hayter to win as well too. There was points in the match where I thought that she wasn't going to win because, like, with all the false finishes and everything and whatnot, like the crowd, like everybody was all like, "Oh, like what, like yeah, again, like they definitely told a good story in the ring, definitely. All right, and and with the added assistance of Rebel and Dr. Britt Baker, also added more suspense to the match as well too. So I mean, hey, again, like that match had everything. I mean, like it had it all. Like the false finishes, the good spots, excellent crowd reaction. Like it was electric. And then actually seeing Jamie Hayter actually win, and the pop that she got, like hell, I even popped out of my chair as well too when she won as well too. Yeah, like everybody, that was definitely the right call. And on top of that, and plus, in the build that Jamie Hayter has been getting up to this, has received getting up to this point, and everything, like she's worked hard, she's definitely paid her dues and been putting in the time and everything and whatnot, and to see it actually culminate into this moment, it was very poetic. It was something, it was actually amazing to be it was amazing to behold.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that we will inevitably get Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa probably in the beginning of January, and then we're leading towards Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker at Revolution? Do you think that this was the right call to kind of delay the breakup? I'm not saying, listen, it was the right call to give Jamie Hayter the title. Was it the right call to delay the breakup? Or do you think they should have done the breakup earlier? Or do you think that everything that's playing out right now, it's just perfect, the long-term booking is there, and everything should just continue on the course? I haven't heard any update on Thunder Rosa. I wanted to hear from you if you heard any update on her. When is she coming back?
Well, right now, I haven't heard any update on Thunder Rosa right now, so that's what I'm saying. Like right now, all this right now is dependent on Thunder Rosa's condition. All right. Like as far as delaying the breakup goes, again, right now we don't know when Thunder Rosa's due to come back. But if she's still going to be out for a while, then if anything, I think right now, like the best thing to do right now is still have all three, Jamie Hayter, Rebel, and Britt Baker, still working together, right now as one right now. And then when we do get word that she is going to come back or whatever the case is, that's when they actually pull a trigger on breaking them up or doing whatever the case is. Or if anything, if Thunder Rosa does come back, I think the best thing to do is actually have Thunder Rosa go up against Jamie Hayter and unify the championships, and then after that, then have Britt turn on Jamie Hayter, and then set that up for a Revolution or Double Nothing or whatever the case is.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything seems to be working in their favor right now, and everything seems to be flowing very, very nicely, and I'm very pleased to see what's going on with Jamie Hayter. I don't know where Toni Storm goes from here, but I can definitely see Toni Storm potentially as maybe if they want to. If they don't want to go with Deeb, I can definitely see Toni Storm as a potential woman to take the TBS title from Jade. If you're asking me, while Chris Statlander's recuperating, I would have Deeb take the title off of Jade, and then I would put Toni Storm in there with Serena Deeb, and those two women can fight for the TBS championship because they put on a very good women's match back at the end of September for the AEW Interim Women's World Championship. that right there is definitely something I'm looking forward to. But just like various matches that we talked about this night, we're going to say it again. This match had no losers. Both of these women, they worked their asses off. Easily one of, if not the best AEW women's title match that we've seen thus far. The story, the in-ring action, the build, the history between the two, the crowd reaction, everything, and the stars just aligned, and it just flowed and just came off as perfect as it could possibly come off. And Jamie Hayter, major congrats to Jamie Hayter. And once again, we talked about it. The homegrown talent is alive and well with the Lucha Bros, 2/3 of Death Triangle, the Trios champions, the Acclaimed, which we're going to talk about next, the AEW World Tag Team Champions, Jamie Hayter, the interim AEW Women's World Champion. It's all just coming together so nicely, and the lifeblood and the pulse of AEW, it just all revolves around the homegrown talent, and that is something that Tony Khan, he's mastered that. He's mastered the art of creating homegrown talent, from Jamie Hayter to Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, MJF. Everything just flows very nicely. And speaking of homegrown talent, let's actually talk about Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaim. This is for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Before we get into the match, actually, please elaborate on exactly what happened in the crowd that sparked up some type of diversion from the match. I think some drunk asshole, he was trying to start a fight, you were saying? You were like,
so it looked like that somebody that it looked like two people was gonna fight. Like somebody was actually like, instigating a fight and everything. So security had to go over there. The fans was pretty much like, they kind of get sidetracked, like, like they chanted fight. I'm guessing that there actually wasn't chanting for them to actually fight. They were just trying to let security know that. I think that they were trying to let security know that there's a fight happening over there. Like they quell that now. So yeah, that's what I hope that they were. That's what I'm hoping that the chant was about. But
Jersey people are ruthless, dude. Just let's let you know, Jersey's ruthless.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me, I know. All right, but so security pretty much like threw the guy who was instigating the whole thing out and everything and whatnot, and that's pretty much, so that was pretty much like how that whole thing went down. Like I don't know exactly what caused it or what sparked it or whatever the case is or what it was or whatnot though, but yeah. But that was pretty much what happened, at least from what I was able to get garner from it.
Well, regardless of that, we still got a very good match. I'd probably say, I don't know, you can make your own assumption from this, but you could either put this as number 2 or 3 on the trilogy list. Maybe I'll probably put it as number 3, mainly because of the fact that the first one was obviously at All Out, and that was the best in-ring match that was one of the best tag team matches of the entire fucking year at All Out with Swerve in Our Glory and the Acclaimed. I'm putting the one at Grand Slam at number 2 specifically because of the fact that it was the moment that made that match just even more special for the Acclaimed. And I'll kind of put this one at number 3 because it was kind of the more predictable one, not saying that it was bad because we knew where it was headed. But let's go over the match. Swerve, he went for a guardrail, and that played into effect on what happened later on. Pretty brutal spot there. But Bowens, he suplexed Swerve onto the floor. Lee was then working on the injured arm of Bowens, kayfabe. Then we had Swerve, he was worked on by Max Caster. Max Caster, he delivered a big diving famouser on Keith Lee. He delivered a body slam on Swerve for a 2. Wheelbarrow cutter by the Acclaimed for a 2. Lee then saved Swerve from falling into the barricade. Max Caster said, listen, he may be safe, but you're not. He jumped off the top, crossbody on Keith Lee off the apron, and the guardrail fucking snapped, and the sound, it did not sound fucking pleasing at all. At least not to Keith Lee or Max Caster. But that was a very nice spot. Swerve with a rolling flatliner. He did the house call kick. Bowens kicked out. Another house call. A third one. A fourth one. Bowens still stayed alive. Obviously playing up to that underdog babyface character that the Acclaimed are playing. Bowens dodged the Swerve stomp. He hit the arrival, tag to Max Caster. The mic drop connects. Keith Lee saved it. Swerve with a beautiful brain buster. I love me a good brain buster. Love me a good brain buster. Swerve with a beautiful brain buster. He tagged in Lee. He lit up Caster. He had a big Beal on Caster. A pounce to Bowens. And I don't know if this was by design or not. I don't know if you caught this. But when Keith Lee pounced Bowens, I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but Bowens' injured shoulder bounced off the bottom rope. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but that was a nice touch. A little attention to detail right there. From there, we had the Fall from Glory, which is the Swerve Stomp Spirit Bomb combination. Caster kicked out, tagged the Bowens. Lee slung Caster into Bowens, powerbombing Caster onto Bowens. Swerve then took the pliers again, so he was going to clip the fingers. All of a sudden, Billy Gunn came out, huge pop. Daddy Ass came out, unable to scissor because his hands were still wrapped up. Swerve then dodged the attack from Daddy Ass. Security ejected him. Swerve then gave Lee the pliers. Now, I was not expecting it to play out this way, but I have no problem that it did. Swerve gave Lee the pliers. And Swerve was telling him to use it because the referees, they were ejecting Daddy Ass. So Keith Lee throws the pliers away. He's not looking to cheat. Swerve slapped the ever-living shit out of Keith Lee. You could see the fucking sweat fly. Slapped the shit out of Keith Lee. And Keith Lee picks up Anthony Bowens. And this was great. Subtly picks up Anthony Bowens, pats him on the shoulder, turns around, and slowly walks out. I didn't think they were going to do it like that, but I have no problem that they did because that right there, that was just a story with Keith Lee having enough of Swerve's antics. He walked out. Anthony Bowens and Max Caster came in. Caster with a springboard drop kick. And then they hit the flipping, like an inside-out flipping Meishinuku driver, it looked like. An inside-out flipping Meishinuku driver. And Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, the Acclaimed, they get the win. Despite what happened on the outside, this was still a very good match. Keith Lee walking out on Swerve. Excellent storytelling right there. And I actually thought that they were going to lose clean, Swerve and Lee. And then Swerve was actually going to attack Lee afterwards. But the fact that they did it like that, it actually gave Keith Lee more of that babyface heat. It actually gave Keith Lee a little bit more of a babyface adrenaline boost because the crowd was fucking hyped up for the shit. They were cheering Keith Lee, but booing Swerve. So that right there, that was actually a very nice subtle touch right there. But Anthony, we are second to last match before the main event. Let me hear it.
Well, one thing I can say is that I mean the match was still good. I mean it wasn't as good as the last two matches though, but I mean, yeah. But again, like well, like I said, like I knew that that the Acclaim was gonna go over. I just didn't expect them to go over like that. I just didn't expect that that Swerve and Our Glory was actually gonna break up like that. That was how they pretty much like was gonna have to break up. Yeah, again, like, a lot of false finishes because after, after Swerve, hitting those kicks on Anthony Bowens all the times and Bowens kicking out, like, I was like, oh, man.
They were starting to get into it.
Yeah, so that was that. I mean, again, attention kind of got diverted from the match because of the whole fight situation in the crowd, though. But I was pretty much, trying to, stay focused on what was going on and everything, stay focused on the match and whatnot. And, yeah, So I hope that at that moment, that the crowd was pretty much cheering and dealing with all that ruckus, didn't pretty much take away from the match. Yeah, because again, I didn't watch again, I was there live, I didn't see it on pay-per-view. So therefore, I don't know how pretty much it was perceived by the viewer watching at home, but one thing I can say is that it wasn't a bad match. But but if this is the way Swerve and Our Glory is going to end, I say I think this is probably the best way for them to do it. Keith Lee staying true to his principles and saying if I'm going to get ahead, I don't need to cheat in order to do it, or use pliers or whatever the case is, and do that. And then pretty much when I saw this, and then like you said, when he actually slapped the ever living shit out of Keith, when Swerve slapped the ever living shit out of Keith Lee, it was like, Okay, yeah, this tag. Okay, yeah, this tag seems done.
And the best part about it is he didn't even need to lay a hand on Swerve. He just picked
No,
up
he did
Anthony
it.
Owens, patted him on the shoulder, and walked out.
Yeah,
Great detail right there. Brilliant.
yeah. So at least, like the Acclaim actually won the match clean and everything. Like it was a clean finish and everything and whatnot. I mean that new tag team move that they did at the end, like I was like, whoa, like that was something different. So yeah. So I mean, hey, so what is the Acclaim go from here? Hey,
Yeah.
whoever's best next to step up, gets a shot. Like hopefully it'll be Darby and Sting, but again, I'll see where that goes. But as far as Swerve and Our Glory goes, that tag team is done, and they're pretty much going to set the stage for them two to go at it. Here and there and whatnot, and they'll pretty much in the end, ultimately culminate at Revolution.
Yeah, I do believe that they have a couple teams that they can throw up against the Acclaimed, but the Acclaimed are not losing, not anytime soon. I do believe that they're probably going to either the first Dynamite of the new year or potentially Revolution with the tag team titles. And I do believe that in the end we're going to get the Acclaimed versus FTR because that's a match that I don't think we've ever seen before. We haven't seen it. That's a match between two of the hottest tag teams in AEW right now that I'm sure a lot of people would love to see, and a match that's going to really be interesting to see who the crowd favors in that match. But that is when I believe the Acclaim's tag team title reign will ultimately come to an end, which there's no shame in losing to FTR. They're fucking FTR at the end of the day. But there's a couple of teams that they could place against the Acclaimed for the time being. They could potentially do the Guns. They could potentially do a private party. If the Lucha Bros, if the Lucha Bros aren't tied up with the Elite anymore, they could potentially do the Lucha Bros as well. There's different options that they can go with, but in the end, I do believe in the end that we are looking at the Acclaimed versus FTR potentially at Revolution. That would probably be the best time to do it, considering that's the first pay-per-view of 2023, and that'll probably be the best way to start their pay-per-view calendar year off strong and having FTR win the championships once again. If they want to do the Young Bucks, I mean, they could dabble in that. They could very well have Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian reunite as SCU and the first AEW World Tag Team Champions. And if they want to do that match against the Acclaimed, that should definitely be interesting. I wouldn't mind that. I don't see SCU winning, but it would be a nice interim match and a nice interim program before the Acclaimed inevitably move on to FTR at a later date. But that's definitely something that we're going to keep an eye on for sure. But we move on from that. We go into the main event here. MJF, the devil himself, Satan on earth, versus Jon Moxley. This was for the AEW World Championship. Let me ask you something. With Jon Moxley being booed as he did, I got to tell you, he brought that heel persona out of him very, very well. And if anything, we all talked about Jon Moxley not being a heel after what happened with his alcohol and his rehab program and how he came back and he was just a super over babyface and he was on the right path in life and there was no way that anyone was going to boo him. Do you honestly believe that now could be the time for Moxley to turn heel and potentially dabble in that? Or do you think this was just a one-time thing just because of how over MJF is?
Yeah, I think it was a one-time thing because MJF was very, very, very over, and everybody wanted to see MJF win the championship. So of course, naturally, they were going to boo Jon Moxley. Okay, not because Moxley was the heel, but because again, people wanted MJF to win.
Yes, yeah, that kind of makes sense if I'm thinking about it now. But I definitely wouldn't mind Moxley dabbling within the heel territory when the time is right, because I think he does have the makings of a great heel, like a legit heel that could help a lot of people get over. But the match itself was very good. Match itself was very good. It was mainly storyline driven, a couple high spots here and there. I wouldn't say that it was better than their first match. From a storyline perspective, yes. But from an in-ring perspective, I would say that their first match was the better one. That does not mean that this match was bad. This was very good. storyline driven, and it flowed very nicely. So Moxley wasn't having any of MJF's games. Moxley sent MJF into the steps. MJF was on the defense. Moxley was just soaking in the booze. He was just flipping off the crowd. He was getting into it. So I got to commend Jon Moxley. He knows how to read the room, and he knows how to work the crowd and make sure that everything around him works to his favor. He's great at adapting, and that's something that you need in this sport of professional wrestling. So that was a great thing to see by Moxley. So MJF wrenched the arm of Moxley into the buckle. MJF set up a table at ringside. Moxley with a running cutter. Crowd was heavily booing him. Moxley was just working the whole heel style. Both men were on the apron. MJF tombstones Moxley on the apron. Rolls him back into the ring. That got a 2 count. He was heavily favoring the knee. Moxley and MJF went out to the apron again. Moxley had a pile driver to MJF off the apron through the table. Then he went back in the ring. He tried for the count out. MJF slid back in the ring. Moxley caught him with a paradigm shift. MJF kicked out. Moxley then locked in the figure 4 on MJF. MJF turned it over. MJF then hit the heat seeker. Moxley sold it beautifully. Moxley kicked out. Moxley targeted the knee. Both men were up top. We had arm-trapped elbows up top. Moxley with an avalanche paradigm shift from the top, which looked great. MJF, and this is what I love about it, MJF just subtly touched the rope. He didn't grab it. He just subtly touched it. Great move there by MJF. MJF spit in Moxley's face. He said, fuck this. He spit in his face. Moxley then slapped MJF. MJF and Moxley traded strikes back and forth. MJF pulled the ref into the path of Moxley. MJF, he was down. Moxley was down. The ref was down. MJF pulled out the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but he was kind of debating with himself. Should I use it? Should I not use it? William Regal came out, and he told him to put it down. And what did MJF do? He threw the ring away, flipped off William Regal. Moxley then locked in a rear naked choke. MJF got out. Another ref came in. That ref got taken down. So both refs were down. Regal, out of fucking nowhere. And shout out to my dad and shout out to Roman. They called this shit. Regal slid the brass knuckles to MJF. The infamous brass knuckles. Brass knuckles punch to the face. He put it in his trunks. One arm over Moxley. 1, 2, 3. MJF. The supreme overlord. The ruler. The king of ISPW. Or not ISPW, excuse me. I'm thinking about the fucking indie tournament I went to like a couple months ago. The king of AEW, excuse me. But shout out to ISPW, though. It's a great fucking indie promotion. If you're around, Antonio, you should definitely come to the next show. It's in Totowa, New Jersey on December 9th at the Totowa PAL at 7:30. So check it out. Definitely check it out. But MJF, he gets the assist from William Regal. William Regal fucks over Moxley. And in a very good, very storyline-driven main event, the devil has gotten his due. And finally, at long last, MJF is the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Dude, I'm telling you, that promo on Wednesday with MJF as the World Champion, it is going to be a fucking sight to behold. I cannot wait for fucking Wednesday. With that Chicago crowd and how over MJF is, it is going to be fucking beautiful. But these two individuals, they did very well. And with Regal fucking over Moxley, you have to wonder, is the Blackpool Combat Club done? Where do they go from here? Is Moxley going on vacation? If so, I think he may, because he was supposed to go on vacation. So realistically, I think him and his wife are probably going to go on their vacation. I don't know what he's going to do when he comes back, but it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to keep our eyes on. Is William Regal going to be aligned with MJF now, or was this just a one-time thing? But let me hear it.
Well, one thing I can say is that being there in that raucous atmosphere, it was truly a match. It was truly magical. one part that made it magical was that during Moxley's entrance, this was the actual cameo that I think a lot of people saw.
Yeah, I was actually telling Jess, like, that's my guest. He's going to be on my show tomorrow. And Jess like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yes, I was literally right there when Moxley made his entrance. I was wearing the Jericho Cruise shirt with a Devil's hat. I had my own replica AEW Championship on. Yeah, so that was that, and then also, and then the match itself, like, again, like, they told a good story, like, from top to bottom and everything, like, as far as like, Regal coming out and everything, and then pretty much like, thinking back to the promo that William Regal and MJF had weeks ago, as far as like, them two going at it, like, throwing real life elements in it and everything and whatnot. And it was like, okay, and then the fact like Regal pretty much like, slipping in the brass knucks to MJF, like that was pretty much like that pretty much like felt like that right there was really Williams really William Regal's seal of approval right there, like saying like use the brass knucks right now, like the brass knucks that really defined William Regal's career. Like that was like him, like that felt like a pass, like a real passing of the torch moment right there.
Yeah.
Like a real passing of the torch, like saying like you finally proved yourself, kid.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch all that play out. But does Regal stay aligned with MJF, or what is Regal going to do now? Is the Blackpool Combat Club done?
That I don't know. I mean, like, well, I don't know if they actually showed this on afterwards. Like, I think the pay-per-view might have went off the air though, but it actually showed like Brian, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta all coming down to the ring, like, helping like assisting Jon Moxley out of the ring and letting Jon Moxley know what happened, that like William Regal slipped the brass knucks to MJF. I don't know if you guys saw that on TV.
No, that was after. It was off the air by then.
Okay, so at least I was able to get y'all. Okay, so at least everybody watching, they know that happened. So now that pretty much like, like that's pretty much all been revealed and everything. Okay, like what's gonna happen again? Like now, as far as what's gonna happen next, honestly, truly don't know. I mean, I think that this might be a one-time thing as far as like, like William Regal giving MJF the actual real Regal rub, but now, as far as him actually aligning himself with MJF, I don't think that's gonna happen. Mainly since MJF I think he's somewhat still aligned with like what? Like I don't know if he's actually. I think he's done with Stokely Hathaway or with Stokely.
He's done with that.
Okay, so in that case, then yeah, I mean, it would have surprised me if they did have William Regal aligned with MJF though, but I don't think that's really what's going to happen. Now, as far as the Blackpool Combat Club, Now, as far as where the Blackpool Combat Club goes from here, I think they probably might just continue moving forward without William Regal. But hey, but again, only time will tell.
We need them in the trios titles hunt. They should not be breaking up. We need them in the trios titles hunt.
Yeah, at least have Brian, Claudio, and the Wheeler Yuta going at and title hunt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would actually be a good matchup as well too, with that triangle against the BCC. Oh,
yeah, that if they want to do that at Revolution, they could do that. If you don't want to do a triple threat,
yeah, they could. Yeah,
but here's something right now. We have a lot of challengers for MJF. Obviously, with Ricky Starks winning this tournament, Jungle Boy, Darby, Eddie Kingston, perhaps, Man Page. Who takes the title off of MJF in the end? For me, I still do believe it's probably going to end up being Wardlow, probably sometime in 2024, just because that tells the better story. It really generates a lot of interest, and they can have an actual match this time rather than a squash.
Yeah. Well, excuse me. As far as like who's going to take the title off MJF right now, I'm just soaking in. Right now, I'm just still processing, and everything is just still living in the moment of MJF actually being the champion right now. Like, he's not losing
anytime soon. Trust me, he's holding that title 400, 500 plus days.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, like, I'm still like, living this moment. As far as who's going to take the championship off of him right now, I didn't think that far in advance yet. Like, everybody, like the whole crowd popped, like, when MJF did, like when our free, like, hit the mat for the 3 and that was it. Like, we all cheered, like we was like happy for MJF and afterwards. So I mean, so right now, I mean, as far as who's gonna take the title off of him, that like we'll worry about that when that's like we'll cross that bridge when we'll get to it. But for right now, like I'm just enjoying the moment right now as far as MJF actually being a champion.
Oh, no, trust me that. I'm going to enjoy that moment, too. I'm proud to say that I dressed up as MJF for Halloween 2 years ago, and I will continue to support the asshole from Plainview, Long Island, New York. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. We went nearly 3 hours great.
Yeah, 2.5 hours, man. Dang.
Yeah, great analytical dissection. Antonio, you got a very good mind, and I thank you for taking the time to sit here with me to talk about AEW Full Gear, and we're definitely going to organize it going forward. We'll probably bring you back maybe for the Rumble, maybe for the Elimination Chamber. We could do something along those lines, but you did a fantastic job, man. Great flow, and I want to thank you again for taking the time.
No problem, and hey, thank you for having me, man. I definitely enjoyed this. Yeah, this was an amazing show. I can't see how many people tuned in though, but I think at one point, or she's still not here. My fiance, I'm actually tuned into this as well too. She didn't watch AEW though, but she knows that I'm a huge wrestling fan and everything, and and that.
Shout out to the future Mrs. Dawkins. There you go.
Yes.
She's going to become a member of the DJ Storms posse slowly but surely, But thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate all you. But before we get one more time, Antonio, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, again, thanks for inviting me, and I look forward to being back. You all can find me on social media, on Facebook. My name is Anthonio Karriem. It's spelled my first name the way you see it here. My the last name is Karriem, Karriem. That name is also the same as on Twitter and Instagram as well too. My handles on there is A_time_Karriem. Again, A_TIME_KARRIEM. Yep, you'll find me on Instagram and Twitter at those handles as well.
Check him out. He's always going to Devils games, always going to a lot of East Coast wrestling events. I hope to see you potentially at ISPW Christmas Chaos in Total as well. Hopefully we'll have a great turnout for that show. But you guys already know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description. This Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm having Miss Raging Girl Gamer on the channel. She is a Twitch streamer, streams a lot of video games, and she is very good at what she does. She's a very, very nice individual as well, and she's going to be on my show at 8 p.m. on Tuesday for the rundown for Survivor Series, so you guys don't want to miss that. But until then, he's Antonio. I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind, but there's one last question that everyone needs to answer before we go off the air. Antonio, who runs the IWC?
Who runs the IWC? Well, I think the correct answer is DJ Storms.
You're damn fucking right, baby. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms? You guys have